Chapter 1. Leisurely Eating Melon. Today, with nothing to do, I'll see what's new in the sect. I think I saw Fifth Elder's name, so. The familiar inner voice rang out, and everyone in the Southern Spirit sect, whether flying in the sky, running on the ground, or meditating in caves, subconsciously looked up. And the senior brother, who was performing sword flight in the air, almost missed a step. Because Fifth Elder was his master, if all of Master's embarrassing stories were to spread, Master would lose all face. Junior sister. Levi turned his sword's edge, helplessly riding his dark golden glazed sword down to the foot of the mountain. Junior sister, it's already Chunshur. The martial arts competition is about to begin. How can you still be at the foot of the mountain? Come up, senior brother will give you a ride. Lan Yu, who was lowering her head, secretly pinching a spiritual flower, shivered and quickly hid the spiritual flower in her sleeve. Seeing the senior brother's figure, she waved her hand in surprise. Senior brother, wait for me, I'm coming. Senior brother is truly a good person. How did he know that I've been practicing for 3 whole months, and still haven't learned sword flight? The voice was filled with emotion and genuine feeling. But I will absolutely not say that I can't use sword control, which is why I got up at Maushur and still haven't reached the martial arts arena. Lan Yu puffed out her chest and clenched her fists tightly. This concerned the dignity of her small cannon fodder self. My head can be severed, my blood can flow, but my dignity cannot be lost. Even a small cannon fodder in a cultivation novel has the dignity of a cannon fodder. Only Levi, on the glazed sword, twitched his mouth thinking, Junior sister, if you shout it out in your heart, the entire mountain will know that you haven't learned sword flight in 3 months. And she said she wouldn't say it. Now, it's estimated that everyone knows, except for Junior sister's master, who is currently in secluded cultivation, standing happily on the luxurious glazed sword. Lan Yu was completely unaware. She didn't forget to hide the spiritual flower deeper into her sleeve, and then reopen the 3 realms gossip system. Yes, she had a 3 realms gossip system, and she wasn't a native of this world. She was a modern person who had transmigrated. The night before she transmigrated, the entire Weibo crashed, and the scent of gossip spread everywhere. She was like a badger in a melon field, scurrying around excitedly, unable to sleep all night, eating melon after melon. Then that night, she suddenly died and upon opening her eyes, transmigrated into a long cultivation novel, becoming a very inconspicuous small cannon fodder in the Southern Spirit sect. Alas! Life is unpredictable. Who would have thought she could transmigrate? Fortunately, her system was powerful. Although it was just a 3 realms gossip system, as long as she continuously ate melon, she could gain cultivation. This was simply a golden finger tailor-made for her. She was bad at everything else, but eating melon was her happiest activity. In the internal entertainment industry, she was known as the melon god. Alas, there was nothing bad about this transmigration, except that she couldn't eat the last big melon that night, which left her with lifelong regret. That was a big drama. For a while, 2 actresses were tearing each other apart over a mistress, and guess what? The real mistress wasn't either of them, but a male star. Hee charging straight for the man. However, just as it was about to be revealed, she suddenly died. Suddenly died. If she hadn't already arrived in the cultivation world, Lan Yu felt she would have been so angry she'd come back to life. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Let's continue eating melon in the cultivation world. Although the melons in the cultivation world are different from those in internal entertainment, they are still sweet. It's just that this system is a bit dull. Otherwise, how happy would it be for one person and one system to eat melon together? In front of Lan Yu, the senior brother breathed a sigh of relief. Junior sister's attention was finally not on his master, otherwise he wouldn't know how to face his old master when he returned. At this moment, Fifth Elder's dignified voice reached Li Bei's ears. Xiaobai, you did very well. When you return, I will reward you with a spiritual artifact. After hearing this, Li Bei couldn't help but grin. His painstaking efforts to stop Junior sister from speaking her inner thoughts were not in vain. This trip to the foot of the mountain was truly worth it. He wondered what kind of immortal artifact Junior sister had obtained. It could know so many private matters. There was actually an immortal artifact in this world that liked to dig into people's privacy so much. It was also a strange one. Fortunately, it was in Junior's sister's hands. If it were in the hands of someone with ulterior motives, the entire cultivation world would be finished. However, Levi hadn't relaxed for long before he heard the familiar inner voice again. Is the martial arts arena that far? Even sword flight takes so long, so if I walked there, wouldn't my 2 legs be its ruined worn out? Since I'm sitting on the glazed sword with nothing to do, I might as well use this time to eat melon. Just as Lan Yu clicked on the latest update of the eating melon system, she felt the glazed sword beneath her tremble. She suddenly grabbed the senior brother in front of her, her little heart pounding in fright. Holy crap, you scared me to death. Senior brother's driving skills are a bit unstable, so I'm not the only one who's bad at sword control. Senior brother looks so dashing, but he's actually just putting on a brave face? Li Bai, whose reputation was harmed. Among the disciples who joined the sect back then, he was the one who achieved chi induction into body on the first day and learned sword flight on the second day. At that time, his rapid speed caused a sensation throughout the entire sect. Master even fought fiercely with other elders, losing many strands of his beard, just to take him in. How could his sword flight be bad? How could he be just putting on a brave face? Cough cough. At most, he was just shocked by Junior's sister's inner voice and had a small accident. I've been busy all morning and haven't eaten a single melon. No, I must take a look. Even if senior brother's driving skills are unstable, he can't stop me. Where was I just looking? Oh right, 5th Elder. Speaking of which, what exactly happened to 5th Elder? Let me see. 5th Elder's immortal-like beard was actually secretly glued on by himself. I really didn't expect that. Lan Yu was too shocked to notice the senior brother in front of her suddenly tremble violently. Then the 2 of them, standing on the glazed sword, fell from the sky like shooting stars across the horizon. Holy crap, help! I'm going to die. Senior brother's driving skills aren't just unstable, he's suicidal. Dead, I'm going back. Transmigration God, please bless me. Let me go back and eat that last melon. I will definitely burn incense for you every day from now on. The terrified screams spread throughout the entire sect. Except for some old ancestors who were in secluded cultivation, everyone and all spirit beasts couldn't help but look towards the martial arts arena. Southern Spirit Sect had a special spirit beast enclosure, raising various spirit beasts. Accompanied by the terrified shouts from the sky, these spirit beasts even became restless, all trying to rush out. Just then, a white streak of light shot across the sky. Chapter 2. Has the protagonist group arrived? Lan Yu stood on the periphery of the martial arts arena, clutching her little heart, still feeling lingering fear. Meanwhile, the senior brother hung his head low, filled with shame. Li Bai was already deeply regretting it. He never expected Master's long beard to be fake. It must have broken off when Master and the other elders had a big fight back then. He was truly overwhelmed with shame. At this moment, the entire martial arts arena was very quiet, occasionally even hearing the cries of cranes from Spirit Beast Peak. Everyone, whether they were the sect's elders, stewards, disciples, or even the spirit beasts accompanying some disciples, couldn't help but glance at the 5th elder on the far right. It was the 2nd elder who coughed first. Little 5th, I didn't expect you to be so secretive either, hiding it from us for so long. His gaze fell again on the other party's long white beard, with intense curiosity in his eyes. In the entire sect, aside from the Grand Elder and Grand Elder who rarely appeared, the 5th elder was the most serious, being extremely strict in both daily assessments and accepting disciples. The only exception was when the 5th elder fought fiercely with other elders for Li Bai, an incident that shocked many and remains a topic of conversation in Southern Spirit Sect to this day. The 5th elder's ethereal, universally praised white beard was almost his symbol. He never expected it to be something he secretly glued on himself. The 2nd elder's eyes gleamed with gossip. If Lan Yu saw it, she would find it especially familiar. It was the look of eating melon. At this moment, after a long sigh over the senior brother's sword technique, she opened the 3 realms gossip system again. This is the spirit of a gossip girl. Even after a narrow escape from death, she still wants to eat melon. who just saved my life. They were so cool. I must find that person and secretly thank them. The fifth elder on the high platform twitched his brow. He was about to transmit a message to his disciple, but it was already too late. The elders nearby were also secretly listening, wanting to know how Lan Yu would react when she found out the person who saved her life was the fifth elder. Ah, it was actually the fifth elder who saved both our lives. That's normal. Senior brother is the fifth elder's head disciple, so of course he has to be protected. I guess I was just an afterthought. But what spiritual artifact did the fifth elder use to save us? It was really beautiful. I saw sparkling shattered light on it. It was decorated so prettily. On the high platform, the sixth elder on the left also curiously poked the fifth elder, and secretly transmitted a message. Fifth brother, you used decorations? That made our little Lan Yu so surprised. The fifth elder froze completely. He immediately turned his head. I found it. I found it. That spiritual artifact was actually the fifth elder's beard. He actually used his beard to save us. In other words, the disciples below had already begun to discuss, their tones filled with uncertainty. The martial arts arena, which had just been very quiet, began to regain its initial liveliness. The fifth elder on the high platform finally couldn't sit still, and stood up directly. Silence. What's with all this noise? Anyone who speaks another word will be dealt with according to sect law. His majestic voice spread throughout the martial arts arena. The disciples who had just been secretly discussing immediately shut their mouths. The inner voice that had been lingering throughout the martial arts arena also disappeared. Since all the disciples below have arrived, let the sect's quarterly martial arts competition begin. The competition will be according to... I never expected the fifth elder to look so serious on the surface, but secretly sprinkle gold powder on his beard. No wonder it's so sparkly and beautiful. The fifth elder's hand, stroking his beard on the platform, paused, and his eyelids twitched. The martial arts competition will proceed according to different peaks. Each peak will send 20 disciples to compete. Ultimately. Also, the fifth elder not only decorates his beard every day, but he even hides spiritual food and spiritual candy inside it. No wonder it smelled so fragrant just now. So that's it. Pthahahaha. I never thought, fifth brother, that you would actually hide spiritual food and candy in your beard. You wouldn't be hiding more fun things, would you? The disciples held back their laughter, not daring to speak openly, but the sixth elder had no such qualms. He was practically choking with laughter, and directly transmitted a mocking message. If anyone else had done such a thing, he might not have found it so funny, but this was his fifth brother. It was said that even children would cry when they heard fifth brother's name, but he was so girlish at heart in private. It was truly unimaginable. If he hadn't heard Lan Yu's inner voice in the martial arts arena, he might not have noticed his senior brother's private side for another 100 years. Crack. The fifth elder flicked his whisk, finally unable to bear it, and glared angrily at a corner of the martial arts arena. Xiao Bai, why are you still standing there stunned? Hurry and bring your junior sister over for the competition. Li Bai, in a daze, led his junior sister into the martial arts arena. Lan Yu also realized the atmosphere was a bit off, and quickly closed the eating melon system in her mind, quietly following the senior brother forward. However, upon reaching the inner perimeter of the martial arts arena, both suddenly realized that neither of them had signed up for the competition. Li Bai was the senior brother himself. He only needed to supervise discipline from the side. And Lan Yu was even a little novice who couldn't even learn sword control in 3 months. The reason she insisted on getting up so early and coming to the martial arts arena was because there was melon to eat here. This is the spirit of an eating melon enthusiast. So what did Master Fifth Elder want them to do? The two wondered together in their hearts as they arrived at the front seats of the martial arts arena. Xiao Bai, Xiao Yu, you two come and sit here. The sixth elder waved at them eagerly, his face beaming like a flower. Lan Yu blinked, obediently thanked him, and then quietly sat down in that seat. Such a well-behaved little girl made the sixth elder's hands itch a bit. He casually stole 2 spiritual fruit candies from the fifth elder's beard. Here, eat candy, eat candy. Li Bai's expression stiffened. He secretly glanced at his master, then took them with a thick skin. Lan Yu thanked him again after receiving the spiritual candy. On the surface, she looked incredibly well-behaved, but inwardly, she was already exclaiming, "Wow, so these are the spiritual candies the fifth elder secretly hid. They look so pretty." The fifth elder, veins throbbing on his forehead, glared at the sixth elder. "Go down and host the competition." "Alright, I'm going now." The sixth elder, holding the last pilfered candy, quickly flew down. "Sect Master, all the peaks have arrived. The competition can begin soon." The fifth elder came to the central high seat. The Sect Master, dressed in deep purple robes, had his eyes closed as if feigning sleep. However, the fifth elder could feel the Sect Master's spiritual sense surveying his beard. Fifth elder. His lifelong reputation. Was the reputation he had cultivated for 100 years easy to maintain? For a moment, the fifth elder almost burst into tears. Cough cough, since everyone has arrived, the competition can begin. Little Sixth, continue to host. The Sect Master's spiritual sense was forcefully bounced back, but he wasn't annoyed. Instead, he smiled as he watched the martial arts arena. At the same time, his other spiritual sense was observing Lan Yu. This spiritual sense dared not approach, only secretly hanging on a tree, furtively following behind. What a powerful immortal artifact! It can even deter my spiritual sense. No wonder. No wonder. Sect Master, that immortal artifact is truly peculiar. It's best not to easily provoke it. The fifth elder couldn't help but remind him when he heard the Sect Master's words. However, the Sect Master looked at the fifth elder's ethereal beard, and his handsome face instead broke into a smile. Fifth elder. What a calamity. So boring. I wonder when the protagonist group will appear. I want to see the plot where the female protagonist finds out she's the Sect Master's biological daughter. The Sect Master's brilliant smile froze on his face. Chapter 3. The Sect Master's Affairs. What? His biological daughter? Where did he get a biological daughter? The Sect Master himself was dumbfounded. He didn't even have a Dao companion, so when did he become a father? He looked up and saw reproachful gazes from all around, especially from the fifth elder, who looked particularly stern. The other elders also looked heartbroken, as if they were looking at some scumbag who abandoned his wife and daughter. Sect Master. When did you get a Dao companion? You even abandoned your own daughter? The second elder asked in shock. Let me think, could it have been 100 years ago? The Sect Master disappeared for a while 100 years ago. Could it be that he formed a bond with another female immortal at that time? Reminded by the second elder, Yun Chong finally remembered. He had indeed disappeared for a few years back then, but he had forgotten that period of memory after returning. Could it be that he really became Dao companions with another female immortal at that time, then dumped her, and even refused to acknowledge their child? Yun Chong's body trembled. Could he really be a scumbag who abandoned his wife and daughter? That's not right. The Sect Master disappeared 100 years ago. If he had a daughter then, she would be at least 100 years old now. The second elder finally realized the timing was off and added. Moreover, our Southern Spirit sect mostly requires disciples to have a bone age of 15. And we don't accept anyone older. How could that be? Second brother, are you foolish? This isn't the human realm, where women need to be pregnant for 10 months to give birth. There are plenty of female immortals in the cultivation world, who have been pregnant for over 10 years. 100 years is not impossible. Listen to me, anything is possible. The sixth elder below had actually been paying attention to the situation here. Hearing their conjectures, he couldn't help but transmit his voiceover. After such a deduction, even Yun Chong couldn't help but doubt himself. Could all this be true? During the time he lost his memory, he caused a delicate female immortal to be pregnant for 100 years, enduring countless hardships, just to give birth to their daughter? In that case, he truly deserves to die 1,000 deaths. So tragic, so tragic. Every time I read about the female protagonist's deeds, I feel it's too tragic. How can there be such a miserable background? On the high platform, the Sect Master's body trembled, and his eyes were almost red. His daughter lived such a miserable life? It's all his fault. If he hadn't abandoned his wife and daughter, if he had properly recovered his memories back then, perhaps his daughter wouldn't have. Speaking of which, the Sect Master probably doesn't even know about this daughter's existence. But it's normal. Who would expect to be secretly loved by their mortal enemy for so long, and then have their essence blood stolen by the other party? The Sect Master's reddened eyes instantly widened, and the tears he had just brewed were held back. What? Mortal enemy? What mortal enemy? How is it that he understood every word Lan Yu said, but couldn't understand them when put together? Sect Master, I never expected you to have such a powerful secret admirer. Why be mortal enemies? Wouldn't it be better to just become Dao companions? The Peak Master of Jade Snow Peak, dressed in an elegant blue flowing dress, held a light blue round fan and chuckled, covering her mouth with it. There aren't many who can be called the Sect Master's mortal enemy. First, their cultivation and martial prowess must be evenly matched. If such a female immortal could join forces with the Sect Master, wouldn't their Southern Spirit sect gain another powerful backer? The other Peak Masters also nodded. The Sect Master's strength was unfathomable, so anyone comparable to him wouldn't be bad at all. Looking at everyone's eager gazes, Yin Chong, who was surrounded in the middle, was instead bewildered. The key was that he didn't even know who that mortal enemy was. He also really wanted to know who this person was, who dared to secretly do such a thing. Oh, the untold love and hate between the Sect Master and his mortal enemy. This melon is quite delicious too. I need to investigate. Lan Yu's eyes lit up not far away. She didn't even notice that the previously noisy martial arts competition was now incredibly quiet. On those 5 very conspicuous arenas, the few people who were fighting fiercely just now were now leisurely sparring with swords, seemingly exchanging blows, but in reality, they were all gossiping about the Sect Master's untold love and hate. If it weren't for their fear of the immortal artifact's deterrence, those people probably couldn't help but come over and discuss it with Lan Yu. So that's how it is, no wonder, no wonder. Lan Yu's inner monologue ended there, but the people around her were extremely anxious, wishing they could press their ears closer to listen. Only the Sect Master himself had a fluctuating expression, red and then pale, still hesitating whether to come over and stop it. However, Yin Chong finally sighed. He also really wanted to know his daughter's background. Let those things be said, as long as his daughter could be found. When I read the book before, I skimmed through it, skipping a lot. I only felt that the female protagonist had a tragic background and great strength, but I never expected the other half to be of bloodline. The young girl's shocked inner monologue spread throughout the entire martial arts arena. However, everyone who heard it was going crazy. What kind of bloodline was it exactly? Why did this immortal artifact have an automatic mute function? Could it have triggered some secret? Was their Sect Master's mortal enemy that powerful? However, the North Ridge Holy Sun is also quite tragic. After finally stealing the essence blood and cultivating it with various heaven and earth treasures for nearly 100 years, he never expected that his daughter would be stolen just as she was about to be born. Lan Yu sighed. If only she had read the book more carefully back then. She had completely missed out on a huge melon. Fortunately, she transmigrated into this book and also obtained the 3 realms gossip system. She was secretly eating melon here, not feeling much, only noticing that the outside world was a bit quieter than before. She didn't notice that everyone around her was wide-eyed in shock, and even the disciple who was sparring on the arena accidentally dropped his longsword. Fortunately, his opponent across from him was also distracted and didn't notice at all. North Ridge Holy Sun? The 6th Elder's eyes almost popped out, and his voice trembled. Is it the one I'm thinking of? That battle-crazed North Ridge Holy Sun who once flattened our peak with a single sword? Nanling and Northern Ridge. These 2 places have always been at odds. This enmity has lasted for thousands of years. It is said that Northern Ridge was once the main peak that branched off from Nanling. But these are just rumors. What happened back then? No one knows, only that since they joined the sect, the 2 factions have been incompatible. It was a Peak Master from Nanling who spoke disrespectfully, and as a result, the North Ridge Holy Sun directly came over, flattened one of their mountain peaks, and then swaggered away. The North Ridge Holy Sun has done many other things. It is said that even the Yao race's demonic realm has to detour when they hear the North Ridge Holy Sun's name. Yet, such a battle-crazed fiend actually secretly loved their Sect Master? Is. Countless people gasped. They really couldn't imagine how a madman like the Northridge Holy Sun would secretly love someone. Alas. That's why the female protagonist is so tragic. If the female protagonist had grown up beside the Northridge Holy Sun, probably no one would dare to bully her. Not far away, the second elder glanced at the Sect Master, and secretly wiped a bead of sweat. He thought indeed, no one would dare to bully her. With the Northridge Holy Sun's combat power, they would only be bullying others. Didn't they see that a large mountain peak of their southern spirit sect was gone? That was a bloody lesson. It's truly a pity. After the female protagonist was stolen, she changed hands several times and finally ended up in a royal palace in the mortal world, coincidentally swallowed by the princess consort as a spiritual fruit, and eventually was born. The Sect Master on the high platform breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, his daughter was successfully born. What was wrong with the Northridge Holy Sun? Such a big person, yet he could lose their daughter? How embarrassing. However, if she was born in a royal palace, she shouldn't have lived too badly. Why did Lan Yu say it was so tragic? That princess consort also had a short life. Not long after giving birth to the female protagonist, she ran out of oil and died. She only left the female protagonist in the royal palace, surrounded by wolves, washing clothes for so many people like a servant, and even carrying water on ice in winter. So this was the root of the female protagonist's tragic childhood. Damn it, how could they bully my nickname like this? My nickname was born with 6 fingers. What a powerful child she would be in the future. Yet that prince allowed the concubine in the palace to brutally cut off nickname's 6th finger. Just thinking about it hurts so much. No, the more I read, the more upsetting it gets. Sure enough, I should curse the author more. It's all the author's fault for writing it so tragically. Lan Yu angrily looked up and saw that the great master, who had just been in a daze, was now in tears. Whoa, it's too tragic. Lan Yu thought the great master was saying it was too tragic that they both fell, so she reached out a paw to comfort him slightly. Great master, we are still somewhat lucky. We just fell down and were rescued. However, the more she comforted him, the more miserably Li Bai cried, his fair face turning red from crying. Lan Yu scratched her hair, then her eyes lit up, and she quietly leaned closer. Great master, if you don't cry, I'll secretly tell you a secret about the 5th elder. Li Bai's crying stopped abruptly. The 5th elder nearby? Chapter 4. Inciting Trouble. 5th elder. I really should thank you. Li Bai was so scared, he didn't know whether to cry or not. After a while, he let out an earth-shattering burp, almost blowing bubbles out of his nose. Lan Yu couldn't stop laughing. She quickly took out a soul recording stone, and took a close-up shot of Senior Brother. Senior Brother is so silly. I wonder what the author was thinking, making Senior Brother the villain. Is there such a cute villain? Villain? Li Bai scratched the back of his head, somewhat unclear what that word meant. However, Lan Yu's inner thoughts quickly moved on, focusing on the Sect Master's gossip. Senior Brother, let's talk quietly later. There are too many people here, Lan Yu said furtively from the side. Li Bai felt countless hidden spiritual senses around him, his scalp tingling. He thought, isn't that right, too many people? Everyone's spiritual senses are focused here. Only Junior Sister is so carefree she hasn't noticed. Otherwise, Junior Sister, maybe you shouldn't say it anymore, he suggested timidly. Lan Yu was busy looking for gossip and didn't hear clearly for a moment. It's nothing, Junior Sister, you continue. Continue. Li Bai shook his head repeatedly. He didn't dare to speak anymore, fearing that if he said a few more words, his master would reveal more embarrassing stories. By then he would truly cry, but wouldn't know where to cry. Should I first look at the untold stories between the Sect Master and his arch-nemesis? Or should I first check the female protagonist's location? Lan Yu was indecisive in her heart. She felt that the Sect Master's gossip was truly delicious. When she read the novel, none of this was recorded. Most of it described the protagonist group's gradual progress. She never expected the Three Realms gossip system to be so powerful. There was only one downside. While there was a lot of gossip and fresh melons, checking them consumed spiritual sense. And she had only just undergone chi induction into body, so her spiritual sense was pitifully small. Flipping through 2 pieces of gossip today had already made her dizzy. Darn it. It seems she still needs to cultivate properly, otherwise she won't even have melons to eat in the future. For a melon-eating girl, this was simply intolerable. Forget it, let's check nickname's location first. Nickname is really miserable. Ooh. System, where exactly is the female protagonist now? Lanyu couldn't help but ask the system in her mind. She hadn't expected the system to answer. Ever since binding this system, she had mostly been talking to herself. The system had rarely responded, and she was almost resigned to it. However, the next second, system. Soon the female protagonist is currently being bullied in the back mountain. Clues will be found very soon. System, so you're alive. That's really something, you finally spoke up. System, if I weren't alive, could you eat melons? Could you do without me? Hey. System, you're right, I can't live without you. Lanyu hugged the round yellow little fluffball in her sea of consciousness and gave it a big kiss. The system stopped moving, as if it had crashed. Oh right, what were we talking about? My nickname has already reached the back mountain. Holy crap, when did the female protagonist arrive? Lanyu was so shocked she almost jumped up. She had waited for the protagonist group for so long, and finally the first person arrived. What a pity, I can't even perform sword flight. Even if I went, I'd just be cannon fodder. Lanyu frowned, extremely worried. Sigh, I wonder when the Sect Master will realize. Does she have to be tormented by others for a while, like in the novel? That nickname would be too miserable. Wait, where's the Sect Master? Where did the Sect Master go? She looked back and found that the Sect Master, who had been on the main seat, had disappeared at some point. And many of the surrounding elders were also gone. They must have gone to handle some important matters. It was said that the Sect Master had many things to attend to all day, dealing with trivial matters, even busier than her high school homeroom teacher. The system fell silent. The melon-eating system couldn't keep eating melon, and she, a little rookie who couldn't even perform sword control, couldn't save the female protagonist. Lanyu could only rest her chin on her hand, bored, and watch the people below fight. This martial arts competition seems much more perfunctory than before. Could it be that since the Sect Master left, they don't even want to put on a show anymore? The familiar inner thoughts rang out, and the people fighting on the arena almost spat blood. What do you mean, since the Sect Master left, they don't want to put on a show? It's not that, it's that the melons you're releasing are too sweet, and they can't resist eating them. How did the Sect Master and the North Ridge Holy Sun meet? They also wanted to continue listening to the stories of their love and hate. While the Sect Master is away, aren't you going to look at more of the Sect Master's gossip? Strange, why are the fights on the arena so weak? As if they haven't eaten? Could it be that they worked too hard last night? As soon as these inner thoughts fell, many elders flew down, staring seriously at the martial arts arena. Under the stern gaze of these elders, those people no longer dared to hold back, and quickly engaged in a fierce struggle. I knew it, this is the normal level of the senior apprentices. I must have not been fully awake just now and misjudged. Lanyu yawned while commenting in her mind. The group of people on the arena. Even though they knew Junior Sister was praising them, their mood was still very complicated. This senior brother in blue, a left hook. Take his life while he's down. Beautiful senior sister with the umbrella, when we summon spiritual rain, we can secretly add some ingredients. Then let alone the opponent, even a whole group will be knocked down. From now on, let's just use our ultimate moves. Another senior brother in black robes. Our silver needles can not only heal but also be used as hidden weapons. There were 5 arenas in total, and Lanyu incited almost all of them. So, the elders monitoring from the surroundings discovered that the disciples, who had been fighting very peacefully just moments ago, suddenly became fierce. Either they hid needles, or their rain carried poison, or their punches landed with full force. Each one was more ferocious than the last. The elders silently added another layer of protective shield to those arenas, then quietly retreated a few steps. They looked at the group of disciples fighting fiercely inside the protective shield, then looked at Lanyu, who was yawning not far away. And their mood became even more complicated. It seems that although this one's cultivation talent isn't great, her mouth can really talk. Just a few simple provocations changed the atmosphere of the entire arena. It was more effective than them watching here all morning. The elders were dumbfounded, and then they turned their heads again. Oh wow, this little fellow was actually sitting next to the fifth elder, pulling his beard, and had fallen asleep. Her docile little appearance showed no trace of the mischief and incitement from just now. Chapter 5, The Delicate Junior Sister. Aha! The moment Lan Yu opened her eyes, she saw towering mountains beneath her feet and ethereal white clouds above her head. She realized she had been brought into the air at some unknown point and was being carried forward at high speed. She was scared half to death. She almost thought she was going to fall again. Who could handle bungee jumping twice in one day? Seeing that Lan Yu was about to lose her footing, Li Bai, who was behind her, quickly pulled her back. Junior sister, be careful. Lan Yu looked back with a mournful gaze and asked, Great Master, where exactly are we? I was sleeping soundly lying down there, so how did I suddenly get transferred into the air? Who is so lacking in virtue that they won't let people sleep properly? The slightly annoyed voice of the young girl rang out, and the atmosphere instantly became even quieter, leaving only the sound of the fierce wind rushing past. Li Bai almost suffocated. He quickly winked at his junior sister, urging her to look at who was piloting the flying boat in front of them. If I knew who it was, I would definitely. This inner thought came to an abrupt halt because Lan Yu suddenly saw the Sect Master's straight back. I would definitely thank him properly. He's so kind for actually taking me along when he left. Lan Yu instantly changed her wording. Even her inner thoughts became sycophantic. Anyone unaware would think she was genuinely grateful to the Sect Master. Hold tight. Yin Chong glanced over, and the leaf-shaped cloud boat beneath his feet accelerated again. Lan Yu quickly grabbed hold of her senior brother's sleeve to prevent herself from being thrown off. Although a flying boat of the Sect Master's caliber surely has protective measures, having her face hit the ground wouldn't feel great. What is this thing in my hand? Only then did Lan Yu realize she seemed to be holding something soft. When she looked closely, she almost lost her footing. Holy crap! Why do I have Fifth Elder's beard in my hand? Don't tell me I ripped off Fifth Elder's beard while I was sleeping? Just thinking about that scene, Lan Yu felt suffocated. Holy crap, holy crap. Fifth Elder isn't going to kill us later, is he? Can the Sect Master's speed shake him off? Lan Yu looked at the white beard in her hand, utterly terrified. Junior sister. You don't need to worry. Master saw that you really liked his beard, so he plucked it off and gave it to you. Li Bai explained from the side. The truth was his junior sister had grabbed the beard in her sleep and wouldn't let go, so Master, having no other choice, had to pluck it off and replace it with a different one. But he didn't tell the truth. Instead, he spoke tactfully, because the voice in his mind sounded truly terrified. He was afraid his junior sister might faint from fright. Sure enough, the junior sister was still the delicate junior sister. Her behavior of fanning the flames beside the martial arts stage must have been an accident, perhaps because she was pushed too hard after failing to learn sword control for 3 months. Junior sister, sword control requires mastering a method. How about this? When I have time, I'll teach you. So it was given to me? Fifth Elder is too good. I remember the original work recorded that Fifth Elder's beard seems to be a top-grade spirit artifact. Not only is it good for both offense and defense, but it can also store things. Compared to my storage pouch, it's the difference between a dilapidated shack and a luxury villa. Keep it, keep it. Internally, she was ecstatic like a little money grubber, but outwardly, she maintained a serious expression. Regarding her senior brother offering to teach her sword control, Lan Yu nodded repeatedly, feeling like she could succeed again. But she still hadn't forgotten about the top-grade spirit artifact. Great Master, is it really okay for me to take Fifth Elder's beard? After speaking, she frowned, looking as if she was concerned for the Fifth Elder. Li Bai, the Sect Master, who was eavesdropping nearby. If she hadn't been laughing so happily in her mind, both of them might have believed her. If an elder bestows a gift, refusing it would also be inappropriate. Then I shall take it. Lan Yu put the beard into her storage pouch with incredibly swift movements. Even the fifth elder, who was riding a long sword behind them, twitched his mouth, unsure what to say. Fortunately, the location of the back mountain wasn't far, and they arrived quickly. Only now did Lan Yu realize they had come to the back mountain. Isn't this where the female protagonist is located? Does this mean the female protagonist is about to be discovered? Lan Yu's inner thoughts finally mentioned the female protagonist's location, and everyone present looked over nervously. The Sect Master had indeed gone there before, but embarrassingly, he couldn't calculate the location of his own biological daughter, nor could he sense her bloodline. True, if he could easily sense his daughter's location, he would have known long ago that he had a daughter wandering outside, and wouldn't have needed anyone to remind him. It was likely that the North Ridge Holy Sun had used some method that prevented even him from easily sensing her. Thus, Yin Chong could only return with a group of elders. At the time, Lan Yu was sleeping too soundly. They didn't even need to find an excuse. They just took her away. That's not right. The female protagonist's identity was only discovered 3 years later. At that time, she was critically injured and near death, and only then did the Sect Master discover their blood connection. But by then, it was already. The last part of the inner thought was censored, and the Sect Master in front almost wanted to pin Lan Yu down immediately and force her to reveal the rest of the content. After all, this concerned his biological daughter. His daughter had already suffered so much, and he deeply regretted not being able to protect her, feeling both remorse and heartache. The later events haven't happened yet. They can be completely avoided, but every time a crucial moment arrived, that immortal artifact would automatically censor the sound, making everyone itch with fury. But the Sect Master and the other elders didn't dare to force an answer, afraid they might scare her away. An immortal artifact has its own pride. Since the immortal artifact didn't want them to know, it must involve some kind of rule. The most crucial thing was that even if they wanted to force an answer, they couldn't defeat it. As early as the first appearance of Lan Yu's inner thoughts, Yin Chong had already tried to interfere. That time, he immediately spat blood, and was forced into closed-door cultivation for 3 full months, and he still hadn't fully recovered. Even a Sect Master with such high cultivation ended up like this, so who else would dare to try? Even when using spiritual sense to eavesdrop, they kept their distance. And each one hid more thoroughly than the last. Never mind. Maybe I transmigrated into a fake book, or perhaps a fanfiction. Anything is possible, so I won't waste any more brain cells. Moreover, Lan Yu knew that the real world was definitely different from the novel. Was the novel in her mind necessarily what truly happened? Not necessarily. Maybe all her memories were fake, having been implanted. Just thinking about something like this was terrifying and made her shiver. Fortunately, Lan Yu was carefree. As long as there was melon to eat, she could happily sit there all day and wouldn't dwell on those unnecessary thoughts. Anyway, since she was here, she would make the best of it. Before she, the small cannon fodder, was dealt with, she had to eat enough melon to make it worthwhile. Yes, she was an insignificant small cannon fodder in this cultivation novel. It was said that her biggest role was tipping off the protagonist group, only to be discovered immediately after sending the message and getting killed on the spot. She sighed at this thought. In this era, cultivating immortality was risky. Approaching the protagonist group and becoming a small cannon fodder was risky. Eating melon was the safest bet. I should try to find the female protagonist's location. I wonder if she has achieved chi induction into body yet. This desolate wilderness is full of Yao beasts, and she's being bullied. My nickname is truly miserable. Yin Chong, who was at the very front, kept frowning, thinking, how old is this little girl? Calling someone nickname all day long, doesn't she feel ashamed? This is his daughter, his biological one. Found her. She's right on Luchi Mountain. This place is one of Southern Spirit Sect's most dangerous back mountains. I wonder how the female protagonist was tricked into coming here. What should I do? How can I get the Sect Master to go save her? Would it be too abrupt if I just said it directly? Just as Lan Yu was worrying, Yin Chong, who was ahead, immediately changed direction and flew toward Luchi Mountain. Just now, this Sect Master detected demonic aura here. You all go ahead and check if there is a demon abyss fissure there. Yin Chong explained earnestly. A demon abyss fissure is a rift created by the invasion of power from the demon realm. If a fissure is not discovered in time, it will rapidly expand. The demon race rushing out from the fissure will frantically devour the flesh and blood of living beings. Once the fissure grows to a certain extent, it will form a demonic domain in the cultivation world. Currently, the cultivation world already has 4 demonic domains, which are guarded in various directions by the top sects of the 4 domains of cultivation. If a new fissure appears, it would be a serious matter. It must be reported immediately, requesting the elders of the top sects from the 4 domains to come and repair it. Although Southern Spirit Sect is one of the top sects in the 4 domains, they would never be negligent, as this is a major event concerning the entire cultivation world. Hearing this, Lanyu didn't suspect anything and actually thought it was quite normal. The first time the female protagonist gained fame in the Southern Spirit Sect was precisely because she discovered a demon abyss fissure. Anyway, wherever the protagonist group appeared, fissures were never absent. Sometimes, stepping on a random rock could kick open a fissure, which was ridiculous. Chapter 6. You cried to the wrong person. Lucci Mountain. This is a very beautiful name, but don't be fooled by it. Among the many back mountains of the Southern Spirit Sect, this one is exceptionally dangerous. Not only because the demon abyss fissure appeared on this peak decades ago, but also because it harbors some form-shifting Yao beasts. A form-shifting stage Yao beast possesses at least nascent soul cultivation. And dealing with little novices who just entered the sect and haven't even achieved chi induction into body is like stepping on an ant. Luosun thought the same way. He had keenly noticed early on that Yinli did not seem to like these newly admitted female disciples. Yinli is the Sect Master's niece, and the Sect Master has no children. It is rumored that she is highly likely to take over the position and become the next Sect Master of the Southern Spirit Sect. The Luo family was originally a small, external family. If they wanted to gain a firm footing in the Southern domain, they needed to cling to a strong backer. The Southern Spirit Sect, a top sect in the Southern domain, was their best choice. The fact that he entered the Southern Spirit Sect and gained access to the Sect Master's niece was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. Therefore, his chance to earn merit had arrived. As long as he got rid of these female disciples for Yinli, the Sect Master's niece would surely take notice of him. Helping his family rise later on would be trivial. Moreover, they were just a few newly admitted female disciples, not important figures. If a group of outer sect disciples without background died, no one would necessarily investigate even decades later. He also happened to have some connections with the outer sect steward. Once he sent some gifts, who would know what truly happened? As for why Yinli disliked these newly admitted female disciples, who knew? All that mattered was that he took action. However, Luo-sun planned everything perfectly, but reality took 72 twists and turns, ending up completely distorted. Originally, he wanted to push those female disciples into the mouth of a Yao beast, and then escape himself. Wouldn't that kill 2 birds with 1 stone? At that point, those people would be buried in the belly of a Yao beast, and it would have nothing to do with him. However, now he was running for his life alongside several female disciples, and in a very wretched manner. That chi-refining middle stage Yao beast didn't chase the female disciples. Instead, it relentlessly bit at his backside. If he hadn't been quick-witted, he would have been dragged back and eaten long ago. Looking at those female disciples again, how could he not figure out what happened? It must have been something these people did. Otherwise, why would the Yao beast keep chasing him and ignore the female disciples? Run, hurry. The Yao beast is coming, run. Under the towering ancient trees, several women in gray dresses lifted their skirts and sprinted wildly. Their faces were distorted with terror, and their legs were moving so fast they were blurring, yet they were running even faster than Luo-sun, who was boosting himself with spiritual power behind them. We're going to die. The Yao beast is coming to eat us. Why are we so unlucky? We haven't even achieved chi induction into body yet. If they weren't desperately running, those 3 women would have wanted to hug each other and cry, because they were just too unlucky. Luo-sun, lagging behind, couldn't hold back any longer. Gritting his teeth, he secretly threw out 4 talismans, freezing the 4 people who were sprinting ahead. Of course, The reason for the fourth talisman was that one female disciple was accompanied by a utility disciple. Although that utility disciple hadn't spoken, his speed was not slow at all. How could Luo-sun save face after being outrun by 4 people who had just entered the sect? So even if it cost him 4 body-fixing talismans, he committed to it. Thus, when the Sect Master arrived with the elders, the scene they witnessed was those female disciples nearly being buried in the mouth of a Yao beast. In that instant, everyone's eyes were splitting with rage. Especially the Sect Master. His heart nearly stopped, and for that instant, he couldn't feel any beat. In the blink of an eye, the black bear with its wide-open bloody maw was ripped into pieces, its body separated from its head. Such a bloody scene terrified even the female disciples who were about to be eaten by the Yao beast. They stood there dumbfounded and motionless. Why is it ripped into pieces? Didn't I just strike once? Sixth Elder asked curiously. Although he only struck once, that strike was extremely fatal, cleaving directly into the center of the Yao beast's brow. Moreover, Sixth Elder guaranteed that after that strike, the Yao beast absolutely could not have survived. Indeed, I only made one move too. Why did it die so miserably? It won't do if we scare my niece. The Peak Master of Jade Snow Peak also frowned slightly. Of course, the reason she called the other party her niece was not due to any blood relation. Rather, it was because she, the Sect Master, and some of the elders were all adopted children of the former Sect Master years ago. Their group had a good relationship, calling each other Big Brother and Second Brother privately, so referring to the Sect Master's daughter as their niece was perfectly fine. Thinking that their niece might be scared by such a bloody scene, the Peak Masters and elders frowned, feeling somewhat annoyed. One person hacked once, another person struck on Cetoescent. That mean it would be ripped into pieces like pork belly? How could everyone possibly strike the exact same spot? While these people were silent, the puzzled inner voice of a young girl suddenly sounded. As if to confirm her inner voice, Lanyu even scratched her head in confusion. Looking completely bewildered. Sixth Elder. Jade Snow Peak Master. How could they forget this little fellow whose inner voice could be broadcast aloud? They must have lost face in front of their niece this time. As expected, it has to be the female protagonist. Even if we hadn't suddenly shown up, my nickname would definitely have prepared a way to turn danger into safety. Lan Yu's inner voice was full of confidence. Yes, this was the pride of a veteran mother. How could the female protagonist's ability to turn danger into safety so many times always be due to the author giving her the green light? The reason why this book, The Path of Immortal Cultivation and Longevity, was so appealing to her was because the female protagonist was fearless in the face of crisis, repeatedly using strategy to lead her team to escape death. Although the author was terrible for writing the female protagonist's past background so tragically, it must be said that the other famous scenes and fight sequences were written very well. The female protagonist and her team gradually improved, and eventually embarked on the path of longevity, instead of the typical trope found in other immortal cultivation novels. You love me, I don't love you, you don't love me, I love her, or he runs, she flies, she can't escape even with wings. Anyway, it was incredibly moving. Beside the towering ancient trees, a woman wearing a gray-brown short shirt froze. She subconsciously looked at a stalk of grass in her hand. This stalk of grass was a Tier 2 spirit medicine, a fatal attraction for chi-refining level Yao beasts. Furthermore, this was fish scale grass, which bear-type Yao beasts love to chew on. If these people hadn't suddenly appeared, she probably would have secretly thrown this grass away. However, she wasn't sure if that voice was referring to her, so she quietly took a step back. Over the past decade or so, she had learned that when facing trouble, she shouldn't rush to the front, but find a way to protect herself. After all, she could only rely on herself. Not far away, the elders were still heartbroken. Regardless of any schemes, that was their little niece. The little one who should have been cherished by everyone had actually encountered such a thing. It was truly distressing. Sixth Elder, who was leading the group, even kicked Luo-san and the others away. After observing for a moment, he ran up to one female disciple, grabbed the collar of her clothes, and started crying loudly. "Woo, my niece is truly miserable. Not only did you suffer so much in your early years, but you even get bullied after coming to the sect. If we hadn't stumbled upon this place, my niece would probably have been buried in the belly of a Yao beast. That creature is utterly hateful. Ooh. Even the sect master's eyes were red. Just as he was about to step forward to comfort his daughter, he heard a second inner voice ring out. But let's just say, is there a possibility that the person you're crying to isn't actually your niece? When this inner voice spread, the entire Luchi mountain fell silent. Occasionally, only the rough cawing of a few blackbird beasts could be heard. Chapter 7. Disaster is upon you. Sixth elder stood there awkwardly, unable to cry or stop crying. After a while, a confused voice rang out. Uncle? The female disciple, whose collar had been clutched by sixth elder for half the day while he wept, spoke hesitantly. Luan Ning was a female disciple who had just entered the outer sect. Her family was just an inconspicuous small family in the southern region. However, before she came, her father mysteriously pulled her into the study. Daughter, your father has found a sturdy thigh for you to cling to. When you go to the outer sect, you won't have to worry. Your uncle will definitely protect you. If there is any danger then, be sure to tell your uncle and let him take charge of everything for you. As she said these words, Luan Ning even felt that her father, whom she usually thought paid little attention to her, was so tall and great. So this was her uncle? He looked very powerful, and he even found her first during a dangerous time. Thinking this way, the grievances in Luan Ning's heart poured out like a torrent, and her tears were completely uncontrollable. Uncle, it was this person. He used some strange item to freeze us, wanting us to be eaten by that black bear Yao beast. The baby-faced girl was crying earth-shatteringly, even more miserably than sixth elder had cried earlier, and she kept hiccuping while she wept. Sixth elder. He looked around blankly, somewhat confused as to how he suddenly acquired another grandniece. Oh ho, congratulations on gaining a grandniece. Sixth elder, although you cried to the wrong person, you still gained a grandniece for free. Lan Yu was secretly enjoying herself in the back. Everyone. So, where was their real grandniece? Even the sect master felt uncertain looking at these four girls. Sixth elder, who was being hugged and cried upon, wiped away a tear. He was now very sober. The girl in front of him had not yet achieved chi induction into body, and could not hear little Lan Yu's voice. Otherwise his old face would be completely lost. Thank goodness, thank goodness. The restriction set by this immortal artifact was simply wonderful. Then his real niece must also not have achieved chi induction into body, and wouldn't know about his current embarrassing situation. He needed to figure out how to solve the problem before him. He absolutely couldn't let his niece know that her uncle had foolishly mistaken someone else for her. Woo. So the female protagonist has already achieved chi induction into body. I knew my nickname was the most amazing. How long has she been at Southern Spirit Sect? She isn't even a formal outer sect disciple yet, but she has already reached this step. Truly admirable. Lan Yu, hiding at the very back, looked admiringly in Yunzai's direction, her eyes full of yearning. When could she become as powerful as the female protagonist? But then, thinking about the various life or death crises the female protagonist encountered on the path to immortality, including one time when the female protagonist was struck by heavenly lightning until only a skeleton remained, yet she still persevered. The yearning in Lan Yu's mind instantly extinguished with a snap. The protagonist group is so powerful because they are all competing fiercely with each other. They deserve to walk the path to immortality. Lan Yu sighed long and short, deciding it was best for her to honestly stick to eating melon. Meanwhile, sixth elder on the other side was completely distraught. What? His niece had already achieved chi induction into body and knew about his embarrassing mistake of recognizing the wrong person? Sixth elder was a mess in the wind. Not only was Luan Ning pulling on his sleeve, but she had also smeared a lot of tears onto him. Uncle, you must stand up for me. The tender voice was incredibly miserable. Sixth elder could only tremblingly take out his weapon, the immortal binding rope, and tie Luo-san and the others back up. Luo-san and the others were almost scared witless. They had originally intended to curry favor with the Sect Master by using Yin Li. Now, not only had the Sect Master come in person, but among the people being bullied, There was even one who was the Sect Master's biological daughter? Oh ho, disaster is upon you. The gloating voice rang out at that moment. Hearing that voice, Luo-san rolled his eyes and was immediately scared unconscious. After the other people reacted, they fainted faster than the last, and within a few seconds, they all collapsed onto the ground. Niece, your uncle has avenged you. Sixth elder, his old eyes streaming with tears, tugged at Luan Ning's sleeve, looking utterly heartbroken. The two people, who had no actual kinship, were crying there with their heads in their hands. Of course, whether sixth elder was crying so miserably because he felt embarrassed or for other reasons, no one could know. Could it be that this really is sixth elder's niece, and I was wrong? Yes, hurry up and let this matter pass. Otherwise, he won't be able to save face. Sixth elder urged internally while still crying. But the system clearly marked that they have no relationship whatsoever. Lan Yu was confused, looking in sixth elder's direction without understanding why. Ahem, since we are fated today, I shall take you as my disciple. Are you willing to become my disciple from now on? Sixth elder raised his head and said seriously. Whoa, uncle, you are too kind. I am willing. Luan Ning was overwhelmingly moved and cried almost non-stop. After sixth elder finished speaking, he secretly glanced in Lan Yu's direction, the meaning being, who says there's no relationship? Isn't a master-disciple relationship a relationship? Why is sixth elder looking at me? Could it be that my gloating expression is too obvious? It's possible I really was mistaken. Maybe they just had a verbal agreement before and haven't formally recognized the kinship yet? It seems even the eating melon system has things it doesn't know. I must pay more attention. Lan Yu secretly edged toward the female protagonist's direction while reflecting internally. Forget it, no more eating melon. The female protagonist is better. Nickname, I'm coming. Bang. A tree appeared in front of Lan Yu sometime, and she almost knocked herself unconscious. Lan Yu, why are you so careless? Come here, and let me take a look. Second elder secretly dispersed the spell formula, wearing a loving expression. Just as Lan Yu was dizzy and disoriented, the Sect Master on the other side had already arrived in front of Yin Shi. Yin Chong gazed at the frail girl before him. Although she was around 10 years old, she looked like she was only 8 or 9. Her small, palm-sized face was very thin, making her eyes seem to take up half her face, appearing exceptionally dark and bright, carrying an unyielding tenacity. She was like a blade of grass randomly scattered into a rock crevice, stubbornly growing out through sheer willpower, displaying her fragile sprout to the world and asserting her existence. At this very moment, standing here and looking at his daughter, he truly felt that warmth. It wasn't derived from the stirring of his bloodline, nor did it rely on a technique for checking kinship. The girl simply stood there, and he felt a profound and wonderful sensation. At this moment, he genuinely realized that this was his daughter. And he had become an irresponsible father. A father who failed to provide a protective umbrella for his daughter. The two looked at each other, and everything was so heartwarming. Even Lan Yu's inner voice had disappeared at some point, and the entire Luchi mountain was silent. Those blackbird beasts seemed to realize something, sensing an inexplicable danger. One by one they tightly closed their mouths, not daring to make a sound. Just as Yin Chong looked at the girl's scarred hands, feeling heartache to the point of nearly weeping, the female protagonist in front of him spoke. You want to recognize me as your niece too? In that instant, Yin Chong's face nearly cracked. Chapter 8. Let go of my junior sister. Have you heard? The Sect Master found her biological daughter, and she's only a little over 10 years old. Of course I've heard. How could we not know about such a big event? Not only do I know that, but I also know that Sixth Elder adopted a niece as a disciple. Sixth Elder also has a niece? Hiss. Are all the big shots in our sect collectively recognizing relatives? Quickly tell me what they're like. Do they look alike? What exactly happened back then? Why did the Sect Master and Sixth Elder suddenly have a daughter and a niece? He. She doesn't resemble the Sect Master much, but she's very similar to the North Ridge Holy Sun. What? Why is the North Ridge Holy Sun involved again? What's the relationship between the North Ridge Holy Sun and our Sect Master? This This brings us to the love-hate relationship between the Sect Master and the North Ridge Holy Sun. It's truly a pity you weren't at the martial arts arena back then. On Spirit Sword Peak, a group of disciples were discussing in low voices. Many people gathered together, their eyes sparkling with gossip. However, Lan Yu, who was there, cupped her face and looked up at the sky. She had been thinking. Feeling that she must have transmigrated into a fanfiction of the book Cultivation and Immortality Road. Perhaps the sect and cultivation system recorded in the book were the same, but the specific content had already changed, developing around the main storyline of the fanfiction. Otherwise, how could such strange things happen? Not long after the female protagonist entered the sect, she was not only discovered by the Sect Master, but even Sixth Elder took on a disciple. This development was simply miles apart from the original work. Perhaps, this was a fanfiction centered on the disciple Sixth Elder had taken in? Lan Yu wiped her face. Forget it, she wouldn't think about such profound questions anymore. Today, she was mainly here to collect a spirit sword. Yes, after more than 3 months of her efforts, the few spirit swords she had were finally completely waste, not a single one left. And the entire Linghua Peak, apart from a pitifully few spirit beasts, only had her as a formal disciple, the only one who could be called master, the peak master of Linghua Peak. Lan Yu had only seen that old person once when she first became a disciple. Other times, she hadn't seen them even once. This master must be in secluded cultivation in some remote corner, probably won't come out for decades. And what was even more ridiculous was that Lan Yu didn't even know this master's name. And Lan Yu even highly suspected that the reason this cheap master took her in was because her name, like Linghua Peak, contained the character Yu. Alas, life is as lonely as snow. Her master, probably also a person like Duga Chiobai, to receive a new spirit sword. A deposit of 100 mid-grade spirit stones is required. As the voice of the Spirit Sword Peak Steward Elder rang out, that trace of melancholy in Lan Yu's heart instantly dropped to the ground with a plop. What? 100 mid-grade spirit stones? And it's a deposit? What kind of spirit sword is so expensive? Lan Yu's eyes widened in shock, somewhat disbelieving. The steward elder in front of her was about to explain when he heard the girl opposite him speak her thoughts again. Is such an expensive spirit sword worthy of me? The elder opposite him immediately had his breath caught in his throat, unable to speak for a long time. On their spirit sword peak, how many people longed for a precious sword but couldn't get one? What was this child saying? Was this a question of worthiness? A sword cultivator's sword is another life for the cultivator, a Tao companion for the cultivator. How can it be measured by spirit stones? Elder, let's negotiate, can you sell it at a 90 discount? Lan Yu clutched her storage pouch, her pockets empty. The two stared at each other for a while. Not long after, a girl in a light blue dress was picked up and placed on a stone outside the Spirit Sword Peak Task Hall. Lan Yu sat on the stone she had just been sitting on for a long time, sighing again. She couldn't help but feel regret in her heart, thinking that she shouldn't have been deceived by that cheap master's ethereal appearance back then, thus embarking on a path of no return. When others take a master, not only does the master give generous apprenticeship gifts, but those disciples can also receive monthly allowances from the task hall. On their Linghua Peak, there was nothing. Her pockets were cleaner than her face, and the few remaining spirit beasts were spirit turtles of unknown species, the kind that could sleep for half a year. Spirit turtles could sleep for half a year without eating or drinking, but she couldn't. Lan Yu was filled with remorse. She felt she couldn't continue like this. She must change. After a while, the girl in the light blue dress stealthily came over, holding a spirit wood, and looked at the steward elder with sparkling eyes. Can I customize a spirit sword here? You can, but you. The steward elder looked at the familiar spirit wood in the little girl's hands, his eyelids twitching. They could customize spirit swords here, but she couldn't take the wooden stakes they used for practice on Spirit Sword Peak to make a wooden sword. This kind of spirit wood was not suitable for making spirit swords, so it was often chopped by the disciples of Spirit Sword Peak for fun, to hone their sword techniques. Just as he was about to ruthlessly refuse, a voice transmission suddenly sounded in his ear. He was stunned for a long time, then looked at the little girl with sparkling eyes in front of him. and said helplessly, "Your master once customized a spirit sword here. Come with me to get it." The steward elder walked for a long time, then turned around to find that the little fellow hadn't followed. The little girl said awkwardly, "Is it not good to suddenly take master's spirit sword? Master is still in secluded cultivation. There's nothing bad about it. This spirit sword was customized by him for his disciple. Now that he's in secluded cultivation, you can just take it," the steward elder said formally. "Do I still need to pay other spirit stones?" Lanyu raised her small face and asked the most crucial question. "No." The steward elder's mouth twitched, not knowing how to place it, thinking that this little girl wasn't tall, but she thought a lot. "Don't worry, 1 spirit stone will do." "1 top-grade spirit stone?" Lanyu was greatly startled. "Even if I sold myself, I couldn't afford it." "1 low-grade spirit stone." The steward elder was silent for a long time, finally adding a sentence. He led the little girl further and further, even descending Spirit Sword Peak. Lanyu followed him, her dark, bright eyes becoming increasingly wary. "Holy crap. Is Elder going to kill me and dispose of my body just because I only paid 1 spirit stone?" The steward elder in front stopped. He couldn't bear it anymore and directly picked up the little girl and threw her into the teleportation array. As the dazzling white light lit up, the girl who had just been bouncing around instantly vanished without a trace. The steward elder had originally intended to leave directly, but he thought of something, took out a meditation mat, sat cross-legged nearby, and closed his eyes to guard the place. Lanyu felt the pressure coming from all directions. For a moment, she really thought the steward elder was going to kill her and hide her body. Fortunately, in the last second, the light from the teleportation array completely disappeared, and she went from a place with birds singing and flowers fragrant and grass everywhere, to a dim and empty cave. Is this the legendary, incredibly luxurious hidden sword pavilion? Even hiding a 9th-grade spirit sword? Lanyu looked around with wide eyes, her small face extremely complex. Who spread the rumor? This dull, gray place is just a broken cave, isn't it? Is a 9th-grade spirit sword really hidden here? She tentatively took 2 steps, and mud actually kept falling from the ceiling. Lanyu. Sure enough, Elder Lin of Spirit Sword Peak still wants to kill me and hide my body. Cough cough. Cough 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 cough. Cough 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 cough. A violent coughing sound suddenly came from ahead, as if someone had suddenly gotten asthma and couldn't breathe. Lanyu looked over warily, finding a kind-faced old man. The old man kept coughing, his face flushed. Is this Elder Lin's accomplice? Am I finished then? Am finished. My small arms and legs can't fight. Cough 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 cough. In the cave, the coughing grew more forceful. Little friend, you're the one Elder Lin sent to collect a spirit sword, aren't you? Follow me. I'll take you to get it. This elder finally couldn't listen anymore. He was afraid that by tomorrow, the news of him and Elder Lin brutally harming sect disciples, and then killing them and hiding their bodies would spread throughout the entire Southern Spirit sect. This little fellow is so young. Why does she think so much? Not to mention that the little fellow possesses an immortal artifact, which even the Sect Master cannot detect. Their age also doesn't allow them to bully the young like this. If the 2 of them teamed up to bully a 10-year-old little girl, and such rumors spread, could their 2 old faces still be preserved? Thank you, Elder. Lanyu breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this person really had a spirit sword. It seemed she had overthought things. The elder next to her just looked at her a few more times, thinking how this little girl seemed well-behaved on the surface, but her inner thoughts were so wild. Could it be that all the well-behaved little girls outside were so unreliable on the inside? Fortunately, it was an immortal artifact, allowing him to realize that appearances can be deceiving. Even the most well-behaved little fellow might be rebellious on the inside. The elder sighed ahead, while Lanyu obediently followed behind. However, before they reached their destination, they heard a loud shout from not far away. Let go of my junior sister. Chapter 9. 18 Dao Companions. At once, both people who were walking looked blankly to the right. They saw a tall, upright man in white robes, like a bright moon, running swiftly, his legs a blur of afterimages. Quickly release my junior sister, or I'll have to act. Li Bai drew his long sword and vigilantly watched Elder Bai Mei Lu. The hidden sword pavilion is very special. It is a spirit-forbidden land. Those present, whether Elder Bai Mei Lu or Li Bai, cannot use any spiritual power. So Li Bai had truly run over, furiously pumping his legs, and was still panting heavily after arriving. I know everything now. You definitely have ill intentions. You must want to. Li Bai originally wanted to say the words murder and hide the body, but suddenly an inexplicable force descended, forcibly erasing his last few words. Only then did Li Bai belatedly feel scared, and he quickly covered his mouth. Anyway, let go of my junior sister, or I won't be polite to you, Li Bai said fiercely. Behind him, Yunxi, dressed in a light green dress, also caught up, staring vigilantly at the elder opposite. Although she hadn't been in the Southern Spirit sect for long, Yunxi understood who had guided her father and the other elders to save her. If she hadn't heard the thoughts of this little girl named Lan Yu, she would probably be severely injured even if she escaped now. So now that this little girl was in danger, she had to repay the favor. Yunxi whipped out a green vine whip, also vigilantly watching Elder Bai Mei Lu. Don't be arrogant, you've been surrounded by us. Even if she loses the fight, she won't lose her spirit. Even though she had only recently achieved chi induction into body, she held a high-grade spiritual artifact gifted by her father. If it really came down to it, she would just call her dad. Her temporary dad had only recently acknowledged her, and had promised to be there whenever she called. Elder Bai Mei Lu. These little brats are rarely seen normally, but they sure run fast at times like this. Lan Yu, who was behind, was also very moved, though perhaps not under such awkward circumstances. Just as she was about to stop him, she saw her senior brother, who had rushed forward at some point, get sent flying by a palm from Bai Mei Lu, his handsome face hitting the ground first. Yunxi, don't come over. Lan Yu sensed something and quickly shouted to the right. However, the female protagonist still rushed over, and was also slapped to the ground the next second, but fortunately she didn't land face first. Lan Yu instinctively covered her face. What, are you still saving people? Elder Bai Mei Lu raised an eyebrow. Do they all think he's a pushover? Do they think they can just manipulate him? He couldn't deal with Lan Yu, who possessed an immortal artifact, but he couldn't deal with a few ordinary disciples? Wait, what did little Lan Yu call this person just now? Elder Bai Mei Lu belatedly recalled that voice and his expression immediately stiffened. The person he just slapped seemed, perhaps, a bit like the Sect Master's newly recognized daughter? Oh no, he's caused big trouble. It was all his fault for not paying attention to investigating earlier. Otherwise, how could he not have known the Sect Master's daughter was coming? Careless, so careless. Then everyone present saw his previously majestic face instantly change, even revealing a gentle smile. All right, that's enough, let me tell you this. I am actually an elder sent by the sect to test your heart nature. I can see that you are all very loving and willing to unite and cooperate with your companions, which is very much in line with the Southern Spirit sect's philosophy. You will definitely achieve great things in the future. Elder Bai Mei Lu said these words, and Li Bai was still somewhat hesitant, wondering if they had truly made a mistake. This is the sect's reward for you. Everyone who passes the test will receive it. Looking at the few little brats in front of him, Elder Bai Mei Lu painfully pulled out 3 storage pouches. Damn it. These were all the spirit stones and spirit medicine he had painstakingly accumulated. Seeing Elder Bai Mei Lu's relieved expression, and even giving each of them spirit stones as gifts, Li Bai and Yunxi finally relaxed. They thought, how could there be bad people in a place like the Hidden Sword Pavilion? It turns out it was a test set by the sect. Thank you, Elder, we were reckless. Yunzai's face flushed, feeling a little embarrassed. It's nothing. This shows your heart nature is excellent, and you will surely achieve great things in the future. Elder Bai Mei Lu was beaming with joy, though in his heart, his inner self was almost weeping dry tears. Woo, Elder, I was also wrong. You truly are an invincible whirlwind great good person. Lan Yu was already so mesmerized by the spirit stones in the storage ring that she was disoriented, even stumbling over her words when praising him. Elder Bai Mei Lu's expression almost cracked upon hearing that title. Invincible whirlwind great good person. What kind of ridiculous title is that? Anyway, he didn't want to stay with these guys for another moment, so he quickly gave his final instruction. Choosing a spirit sword in the Hidden Sword Pavilion is different from the mission hall. When the time comes, you must sense with your heart. Spirit swords have spirits, and only if a spirit sword is willing to follow you can you take it away. As long as a spirit sword is willing to follow me, I can take it away. What if all the spirit swords want to follow me? Lan Yu was already troubled before she even started choosing a sword. Which spirit sword should she choose then? When the female protagonist chose her sword, most of the spirit swords in the entire Hidden Sword Pavilion wanted to follow her. Although she couldn't compare to the female protagonist, surely 5 or 6 swords would be willing to follow her. Wouldn't that make her rich? You can only choose one spirit sword. Elder Bai Mei Lu added, gritting his teeth. He had been stationed here for so long, and few people could cause all the spirit swords to resonate. Wanting to take them all away? What a dream! Lan Yu, opposite him, felt a little regretful upon hearing this. It seems this fortune is destined not to be made. Never mind, she's content with just getting one spirit sword. Having a spirit sword as a means of transport would be faster than constantly walking. Fortunately, her thought was very vague and not broadcast by the system. Otherwise Elder Bai Mei Lu would have been even angrier. Others choose spirit swords as carefully as they choose Dao companions, meticulously selecting them, then cherishing them like treasures and feeding them with various precious ores. But you want a spirit sword just for transportation. Fortunately, Elder Bai Mei Lu didn't hear it, and was even still giving instructions. Lan Yu, you don't need to think. Your spirit sword has already been prepared. There's no choice involved. Walk to the right. The innermost sword in the Hidden Sword Pavilion is the one prepared for you. After giving his instructions, Elder Bai Mei Lu didn't say another word and disappeared impatiently. The 3 people in the cave watched as the elder vanished, then exchanged glances, looking at each other in bewilderment. Shall we go find spirit swords? Li Bai coughed and suggested. The other 2 young women naturally nodded. They came here for spirit swords, so of course, they should go find them quickly. However, as Lan Yu walked, she also sighed in her heart. Although Elder Bai Mei Lu has 18 Dao companions outside, meeting them in different ways every day and playing very wild, he truly is a good person. He gave so many spirit stones. She wouldn't have to worry for a month. Plop. A stone fell into a pool of water in the cave, and a few people vaguely heard laughter from above. Lan Yu, who was just eating melon, suddenly felt a chill all over, and she trembled with fright. Holy crap, did I run into a ghostly creature? Are there ghosts in the cultivation world too? Her thought was transmitted. And the other 2 people walking also involuntarily moved closer. Li Bai was actually a little scared too. But he was the senior brother, so he still puffed out his chest, looking like, don't be afraid, I'm here. Yin Shi wasn't very scared. She had seen countless sordid affairs in the backyard since childhood. In her opinion, human hearts were actually more terrifying than ghosts. However, since little Lan Yu was so scared, she naturally moved closer to offer support. Lan Yu was her savior, and she had to repay this kindness no matter what. After a while, there was still no movement from above, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed it really was just a rock falling from above. If there was anything bad about the Hidden Sword Pavilion, it was this. Not only were these precious hidden swords kept in a cave, but mud was also falling from the top of the mountain. If his master hadn't personally sent him into the teleportation array, Li Bai would have thought he had arrived at an unfamiliar sect. As they relaxed, several core disciples in greenish-brown robes, who were on duty at the cave ceiling, successively covered their grinning mouths, staying motionless and quiet as chickens. I was overthinking it. With the Southern Spirit Sect's protective array, how could a ghostly creature suddenly appear? Let's continue eating melon. Where was I just now? Elder Bai Mei Lu surprisingly has 18 Dao companions, and each Dao companion has the same name. Is this a distortion of morality, or the degradation of humanity? Ahem, next, please listen to Melon God Lan Yu's explanation. Lan Yu was so engrossed in watching on the system that she couldn't help but revert to her old profession. Yes, her profession in her previous life was a game commentator. Of course, She was also a surfing-level melon-eater, known as the melon god. The core disciples above truly couldn't hold it in, and burst out laughing. There was nothing they could do. They genuinely couldn't hold it in. They had been stationed in various parts of the sect for years, and had encountered countless bizarre things. They usually wouldn't laugh no matter how strange the situation, unless they just couldn't help it. Chapter 10. Surprise, surprise. Lan Yu looked up in confusion, and met the eyes of several figures in the dim light. Jiangli, who was leading them, saw that they couldn't hide any longer and voluntarily jumped down. We are the disciples stationed at the Hidden Sword Pavilion. We were just discussing an interesting mission and couldn't help but laugh. Please continue choosing your spirit swords. Did we disturb you? Jiangli asked gently. No, no, no. Lan Yu was still in a daze, but Li Bai, who was beside her, had already waved his hands repeatedly. The two young girls had only recently joined the sect, so they didn't know senior brother Jiangli well, which was normal. But he was very clear that senior brother Jiangli was the most talented disciple of that generation. When he first sought a master, he even caused the peak masters of the Southern Spirit sect to fight fiercely. It is said that he has now reached the golden core stage. If he were outside, he would definitely be a figure capable of establishing his own sect. However, such a person actually took on the mission of guarding the Hidden Sword Pavilion in the sect. One must know that the Hidden Sword Pavilion is not a place just anyone can enter. It is a spirit-forbidden land, said to conceal the Southern Spirit sect's greatest secret. Any disciple chosen for the Hidden Sword Pavilion mission must swear a Dao Heart oath to the Hidden Sword Pavilion. Once the mission is accepted, they must remain inside the Hidden Sword Pavilion for a minimum of 3 years, and potentially 5 or even 10 years, without any external excursions. Cultivating in a spirit-forbidden land year-round, such hardship is not something everyone can endure. Therefore, senior brother Jiangli must have been discussing important sect matters just now. He definitely wasn't laughing because he heard the junior sister's inner thoughts. Li Bai was so confident. Jiangli glanced in Lan Yu's direction before he left, then flew back up. That's not right. Why is this senior brother different? Why can he fly? Isn't the Hidden Sword Pavilion a spirit-forbidden land? Lan Yu's little head was filled with questions. Junior sister, stop staring. We need to find a spirit sword. When senior brother Jiangli was in the mortal realm, he was once the son of a martial arts grandmaster in the mortal realm, so it's perfectly normal for him to know some lightness skill. Li Bai proudly raised his head, as if he himself was the one being praised. So that's how it is. Lan Yu's gaze held envy. So lightness skill really exists in the mortal realm. If I can't learn sword flight later, I'll come to senior brother to learn lightness skill. Lan Yu happily thought to herself. Jiangli on the cave ceiling. It was his first time seeing someone so happy about not being able to learn sword flight. Never mind, I'll continue eating melon. I haven't finished Elder Lu's sweet melon yet. Woohoo! What have I discovered? Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. So the truth is like this. How could those people be so amusing, to come up with such a method? Lan Yu was almost choking with laughter in her heart, but the people around her weren't having such a good time. They waited and waited, but couldn't get the details, scratching their ears and cheeks, each more uncomfortable than the last. Even Jiangli on the roof was wondering what the little girl had discovered to be laughing so happily. It's fine if you laugh here, but say it out loud. Besides Jiangli, the other disciples on the cave roof had the same thought. They had been stationed in the Hidden Sword Pavilion for over 2 years. Apart from meditating in seclusion, they spent every day counting spirit swords on the cave roof. It is said that in cultivation time flies. Outside, even if they meditated in seclusion for 10 years, they probably wouldn't feel it. But it's not possible in the Hidden Sword Pavilion. This is a spirit-forbidden land. Just sitting here for a few days makes their legs numb, let alone meditating and cultivating. So their only daily pleasure was counting spirit swords. Not to mention the tens of thousands of spirit swords in the Hidden Sword Pavilion. They had even counted how many dirt clods were on the mountaintop. Now that several new junior sisters and a junior brother had arrived, how could they not be curious? Of course, this new junior sister was even more interesting. Her inner thoughts could be heard clearly by everyone. Yet she herself knew nothing. This ability was quite interesting. Who knew what grade of spiritual artifact it was? It certainly wasn't low, at least above 9th grade. I'm dying of laughter. Elder Baimei has 18 Dao companions hidden outside. He painstakingly thought he had kept them hidden from each other for over 20 years. Every time he met them, he even changed outfits in various ways, trying to alter his appearance so others wouldn't discover him. In reality, they were all in it together. Jiangli was listening intently when he suddenly felt movement to his right. He turned his head and nearly jumped in fright. In this corner to the right, a pile of elders was actually squatting. The Sect Master, who was leading them, goes without saying. The second elder, third elder, fifth elder, sixth elder, and even Elder Baimei, who had just left, were all present, not one missing. What were they doing? Holding a grand meeting here? Accompanying Jiang Li's puzzled gaze, the Sect Master gently raised his index finger to his lips. To the right of the Sect Master, Elder Baimei, whom he had tied up, hung his brows, looking utterly devoid of life. Presumably, if the Sect Master hadn't tied him with the immortal binding rope, he would have long since wanted to escape the cultivation world. However, upon hearing the little girl's inner thoughts, he was momentarily puzzled. How could his 18 beautiful Dao companions all be in it together? Ahaha, let me see. So that's how it is. The story begins with Elder Baimei's original white moonlight. Elder Baimei had an unreachable white moonlight in his heart. Unable to obtain his white moonlight, he renamed his first Dao companion to have the same name as his white moonlight, and even demanded that she dress exactly the same. Holy cow, what kind of CEO substitute plot is this? I never expected to encounter it in a cultivation novel. I have to say, Elder Baimei plays quite elaborately. Ha ha ha, now for the most crucial part, here it comes. Hearing Lan Yu exclaim that the most crucial part was coming in her heart, whether it was Li Bai, Yin Shi, or the disciples and elders on the roof, everyone subconsciously pricked up their ears. I'm dying of laughter. Of course, that first Dao companion was also a clever person. How could she not see Elder Baimei's little schemes? She was quite headstrong and was about to quit. However, who would have thought that although Elder Baimei's character was lacking, he was generous and had more money than sense. And he even gave out top-grade spirit stones, and even advanced mineral deposits. Who could resist that? Anyway, with Elder Lu, she just needed to change her clothes and let Elder Lu reminisce. That was all. She didn't have to do anything and could get a substantial income every month. Could she keep such an easy job to herself? Of course not. So this Dao companion found her path to wealth. I'm dying of laughter. Indeed, every profession has its top performer. As long as you put your heart into it, any line of work can flourish. Elder Baimei, who was foolishly rich. His face flushed crimson, filled with shame and urgency. Listening to this inner thought, and the accompanying laughter of the young girl, he couldn't help but snort coldly in his heart. What does this little girl know? His Dao companions are all more considerate than the last. Every time he returns, they fuss over him. This is the peak of life. What does this little girl understand? So this Dao companion brought her girlfriends, all wearing the type of clothes the white moonlight liked, to accidentally meet Elder Lu. As expected, her girlfriends all became Elder Lu's Dao companions one by one. On the surface, they might seem to be jealous that Elder Lu had other women, but in reality, after Elder Lu left, these people secretly gathered to eat hot pot and meat. Hiss, I didn't expect the cultivation world to have hot pot. I must try it someday. I definitely want a spicy one. And add a spicy rabbit head. Ugh. Laughter once again erupted from the cave ceiling. This time even clearer. Li Bai, who had just been lamenting that his senior brothers were discussing important sect matters. Senior brothers, please laugh more quietly. If the junior sister really finds out, the wrath of the immortal artifact is not something our southern spirit sect can bear. Didn't they see the immortal artifact desperately trying to stop them? To prevent the junior sister from knowing? However, Li Bai was truly mistaken this time. The ones hiding on the cave ceiling and secretly laughing were not Jiang Li, but the Sect Master holding the immortal binding rope, and the sixth elder who had secretly arrived. Actually, the Sect Master had no choice. After all, The scripture pavilion was a spirit-forbidden land. Even with his cultivation, he couldn't freely use spiritual power, so he could only let the laughter escape. However, the Sect Master still remembered being impacted by the immortal artifact last time, and having to recuperate for 3 months, so he quickly gave warning glances to those around him. Sect Master. All of you pay attention, no one laughs. Otherwise, I'll throw all of you out. And you won't get to eat melon either. The elders quietly nodded, while disciples like Jiangli raised 2 fingers, indicating their stance. Jiangli, Sect Master. Rest assured, we definitely won't laugh, unless we really can't help it. Among them, Elder Baimei was already in a trance, as if his soul had been sucked dry, greatly shocked. Just when they all thought it was over, another shocking inner thought came from not far away. I'm dying of laughter. Later, Elder Lu's first Dao companion felt her business was too narrow. She directly brought over her girlfriends. There were still too few people, so she called all her junior sisters and junior brothers from her sect. That was truly grand, truly ambitious. In other words, among Elder Lu's 18 beautiful Dao companions, half of them were men. What kind of earthly paradise is this? He's truly enjoying the blessings of having many wives and concubines. No matter how elaborately those mortal emperors played, it was only with twins. Elder Baimei directly possesses a harem from an entire sect. Surprise, surprise. Whatever you want, they can make it happen. Chapter 11. Yellow Flower Maiden Man. From the top of the cave, uncontrollable laughter once again echoed. Only Elder Baimei felt a dull pain in his heart, almost spitting out a mouthful of old blood. Amidst the joyous atmosphere, Lan Yu looked up again, scratching her head in confusion. Are the Task Senior brothers talk about really that funny? Lan Yu was a little tempted. Should I secretly use the eating melon system to find out? Anyway, with my mental energy, I can still eat another melon. Just as Lan Yu was hesitating, Li Bai, who was beside her, quickly tugged at her junior sister's sleeve. Junior sister, the hidden sword pavilion has a time limit. We should find the spirit sword first. The little person in Li Bai's heart wiped away a sweat, afraid that when his junior sister went looking for melons, she would discover that several senior brothers were also watching the show. Of course, the most important ones were the Sect Master and those elders. Just now, Master transmitted a message to him, saying that the Sect Master and all the elders had come, and told him to cover for them. Li Bai's scalp tingled at the thought of all those people staring down at them from above. Yes, we haven't found the spirit sword yet. Lan Iue not det the pitten. Her senior brother's matters could wait. The unseen spirit sword was the most important. The 3 walked forward side by side. Lan Yu didn't eat melons in her heart, and the entire cave became much quieter. This made Yun Chong and the elders above feel somewhat unaccustomed. Although they couldn't hear the melons, the parties involved were right there, so they were still very interested. One by one, they turned to look at each other teasingly. Elder Lu, I didn't expect you to have so many charming Dao companions. That's truly unexpected. 6th Elder loved watching a good show the most, and he was the one who laughed the loudest just now. Elder Lu. What does it feel like to have Dao companions from an entire sect? Tell us about it. Another elder quietly came over to ask. On the surface he looked puzzled, as if he simply wanted to know Elder Lu's feelings, but in reality, his heart was blooming with joy. Before, this guy would constantly show off in the sect, saying how beautiful and understanding his Dao companions were, making everyone envious. Now he's got it coming. Let's see him act smug in the future. That's right, Elder Lu. It's said that half of them are male cultivators. Do they all meet you in women's clothing? Just how beautiful must they be to make you so obsessed? 6th Elder also quietly leaned in. Other elders didn't speak, but they secretly perked up their ears. Lu Heng. How was he supposed to answer that? Say that he actually couldn't tell the difference? The thought that half of those charming Dao companions were men, male cultivators in dresses acting coquettishly towards him, made him involuntarily shiver. No, this was too terrifying. When he returned, he had to break off relations with those people. He couldn't let this continue. Damn it. So many charming beauties, yet not a single one truly loved him. Just thinking about it made him feel a mouthful of old blood stuck in his throat, neither up nor down. Elder Bai Mei. Little Lu, you should also rein it in. How can you give 18 Dao companion status all at once? How irresponsible is that to other female cultivators? The Sect Master, holding the immortal binding rope, looked heartbroken. Moreover, the immortal binding rope in his hand had even shrunk considerably, forcibly making him a size smaller and almost suffocating him. Sect Master, it's not just female cultivators, there are male cultivators too, Sixth Elder reminded him from the side. Yin Chong couldn't help but secretly curl the corners of his mouth, then turned his head, resuming his heartbroken expression. Even if they are male cultivators, you still can't be irresponsible to them. Male cultivators are also yellow flower maiden men. Look at you. Is this something a human can do? Elder Bai Mei on the side could no longer hear the rest of the conversation. His mind was now filled with yellow flower maiden man. Yellow flower maiden man. Yellow flower maiden man. Elder Bai Mei finally couldn't hold it in. The mouthful of old blood stuck in his throat suddenly sprayed out, and he rolled his eyes and fainted. He hated it. On the other side, Lan Yu didn't know that she had attracted a wave of resentment. She was still there, accompanying the female protagonist and senior brother to find the spirit sword. Watching the female protagonist release her spiritual chi, attracting countless spirit swords to fly over, she also felt very proud. Her nickname was just that amazing. Among the protagonist group, she liked the female protagonist the most. Because even though the female protagonist had experienced darkness and had been framed, she still tried her best to embrace this world. She was someone who seemed cold on the surface but was actually warm-hearted. Let's go, I've chosen. A clear, cold voice came over. Lan Yu subconsciously looked up and saw the female protagonist holding a lacquered red longsword, walking towards her. We're leaving already. Her eyes widened, a look of shock on her face. No, female protagonist, hurry back. Your destined spirit sword is waiting for you. Why did you pick up a strange spirit sword? Over there, Yin Shi, who was about to nod, suddenly paused. She looked at the spirit sword in her hand, then at Lan Yu's anxious expression, and decisively put the spirit sword back. Yes, that's right. Nickname, your destined spirit sword can advance with your cultivation, and it has saved you countless times at critical moments. You must find it. Yin Shi listened to the rambling thoughts, and her heart warmed. She showed a faint smile. She then re-examined the spirit swords, walking and pondering. Since it's her destined spirit sword, it should have some kind of connection with her, right? Yin Shi felt a vibration from her right side and a faint, ethereal sensation in her heart. She casually grabbed the gilded longsword. Nickname, don't let this sword's gorgeous appearance fool you. ITLL break after cutting down only a few people. It wants to get close to you because it wants to latch onto a rich patron and make you spend a fortune on decorations for it. This sword is actually very cunning. It's even more excessive than Elder Bai Mei. It's had a total of 88 owners. Look at all those ornate formation patterns on its body. These are all embellished with top-grade spirit stone powder and colors extracted from natural spirit fruit juice. Look at those dazzling advanced fragments on it. All of those were inlaid by this sword spirit, who tricked its former owners and former owners into doing it. Damn it, this spirit sword is actually richer than the entire Lingyue Peak. This thought almost made the Sect Master and the group of elders above burst into laughter. Yun Shi, however, looked at the dazzling spirit sword in her right hand, which almost blinded her even in the dim light, and her mouth twitched. She took a deep breath, put the gilded longsword back, and even placed it in a very conspicuous position. She hoped this sword would find a suitable owner. Not long after, she encountered another spiritual wood sword. This spiritual wood sword was understated and luxurious, with mysterious patterns carved into its hilt. Before Yun Shi even got close, she could sense a profound and unfathomable aura, which was quite captivating. At the top of the cave, the elders were also quietly discussing. This spirit sword is probably our niece's destined spirit sword, second elder said with certainty. This spirit sword has never shown its power since Grand Elder brought it to the Hidden Sword Pavilion. Now that it has actively revealed itself, it must be astonished by our niece's talent. Indeed, this spirit sword has been in the hidden sword pavilion since I first joined the sect, but no one has ever been able to move it. Yunzai's talent must be even more astonishing than imagined. Furthermore, there was something everyone tacitly understood. If Lan Yu, who possessed an immortal artifact, called her the female protagonist, then Yunxi might very well be the chosen daughter of destiny in the entire cultivation world. A niece favored by the heavenly Tao was naturally extraordinary. Perhaps she had some hidden mission, such as saving the cultivation world or something. Speaking of the spiritual wood sword, it should be from the immortal realm, because the ruins Master broke into back then were the burial ground of immortals. It's a pity that Master's cultivation was too low at that time, and he could only watch as the surrounding great powers fought fiercely, unable to delve deeper into the tomb. Otherwise, perhaps our southern spirit sect would have one more immortal artifact. When Yin Cheng said this, he specifically glanced in Lan Yu's direction. Lan Yu possessed an immortal artifact. This was something they had deduced over several months. Moreover, every person who didn't believe it had been disciplined by the immortal artifact. Especially Yin Cheng, who only recovered after 3 months of secluded cultivation. However, this immortal artifact was already bound to its owner. Besides warning them, it could only be used to view some secrets of the cultivation world. This was truly regrettable. If this immortal artifact had been a weapon, even just a defensive weapon, their sect might have gone all out to cultivate its owner. What a pity, a real pity. Yunzai's destined spirit sword can improve with her cultivation, so it might be an immortal sword. If we have an immortal sword as a backer, then when the second catastrophe arrives, we might be able to protect the Southern Spirit Sect's complete legacy, Fifth Elder said solemnly. His words made many people's hearts sink. Every time the impending catastrophe was mentioned, everyone's hearts were heavy. While the elders were quietly transmitting messages, changes also occurred below. A dazzling light shone, and strong winds swept through, kicking up dust in the cave that swirled in the air. Let me see, who has awakened me? An ancient voice faintly echoed. This voice was very steady, as if it had accumulated thousands of years of time. Just from this voice, the elders at the top of the cave felt that their guess was definitely solid this time. You are. Yinshi was uncertain and surprised. Could the destined spiritual artifact that little Lan Yu mentioned be the spiritual wood sword? I am the sword spirit of the Kangwu wood sword. Today, I was coincidentally awakened by your spiritual qi, and emerged from my slumber. Child, what time is it now? Chapter 12. There really is a ghost. It is currently the 15,211th year of the Southern Domain. Yinshi answered subconsciously. Her father had told her this year yesterday, and she had been surprised by the Southern Domain's long legacy, so she specifically remembered the time. Southern Domain, where is the Southern Domain? I am a divine artifact from the immortal realm. My true form is the Kangwu wood of the immortal realm. I don't know why I ended up here, little friend. Are you willing to take me with you? We can explore the outside world together. The ancient voice carried endless emotion. Yinshi, before she could utter the words "am willing," an urgent thought resounded again. Nickname, don't let this old guy fool you. This spirit sword isn't from the immortal realm at all. It's just a urinal board that the tomb owner casually found for his son. It's just that later, for some unknown reason, it was made into a spirit sword. Urinal board? Yunshi stared in shock at the kind-faced old man floating above the spirit wood sword, her body involuntarily retreating. It was indeed made from a urinal board, but this spirit wood is quite rare. Its absorbency is very strong. It doesn't leak no matter how much you pee. That's why it was favored by the tomb owner. Yunshi silently took 2 more steps back, almost bumping into Li Bai, who was equally shocked. However, the owner of that tomb was considered a half-immortal, so why would he still need a urinal board like a mortal? Oh. I found it. So that's how it is. His son was a mortal with no aptitude or spiritual root. No wonder he needed to find a urinal board. At the top of the cave, the confident Sect Master and the elders were all lightly coughing. They looked here and there, even picking at the mud on the cave wall, just avoiding eye contact. There was nothing they could do. It was too awkward. They didn't even know how to face the disciples beside them now. Let's look at other spirit swords. Old Grandpa, We have other things to do, so we'll withdraw first. Yunqi swiftly moved away from where the spirit wood sword was located. That old man. His expression was so bewildered that Lan Yu couldn't help but glance at him a few more times. It was just a glance, but when she returned to the eating melon system, she suddenly found an extra annotation next to it. Songshan Old Monster. A ghost cultivator born from the convergence of Yinqi and Songshan. This ghost is cunning and treacherous. It has already devoured the sword spirit of the wooden sword, and the soul of the previous sword cultivator. It is recommended to stay away. Staying in the spirit forbidden land is the safest. Holy crap. Holy crap, holy crap. You scared me to death. There really is a ghost. So this cunning old ghost had already devoured the sword spirit of this spirit sword. No wonder it looked so strange from the beginning, not like a good person. Fortunately, my nickname didn't touch it, otherwise wouldn't it have been very dangerous, dying prematurely? At the top of the cave, Yin Chong, who had just been awkward, his eyes deepened. He directly tore off the token from his waist, intending to lift the hidden sword pavilion's restriction in that instant, and capture the old scoundrel. That old scoundrel dared to deceive his daughter. He must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's gall. Fortunately he was here watching. And Lan Yu was also by his side. If he had let his daughter come here to choose alone, wouldn't she have been deceived? Was it easy for him to get his daughter back? Phew, fortunately, the hidden sword pavilion is a spirit forbidden land, so the old ghost can't get any replenishment. We are quite safe, otherwise, I would definitely be scared to death. Little friend, I am a divine sword from the immortal realm. Are you truly not tempted? As long as you obtain me, you can sweep across the southern domain, and even the entire cultivation world. In the distance, Yunqi shook her head repeatedly, her head bobbing like a rattledrum. But she heard clearly that little Lan Yu said this old guy was actually an old ghost. She couldn't handle such a sinister and cunning fellow. Retreat, retreat, retreat. The old ghost wanted to say a few more words when he suddenly felt a strong pulling force from the spirit wood sword, and his ethereal figure quickly disappeared. In that instant, everyone saw his unwilling eyes. The people nearby were filled with relief. This old guy clearly isn't a good person. Let's quickly go somewhere else. Maybe he'll come out again anytime, Li Bai suggested nervously. Everyone else nodded in agreement, saying yes, 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 run quickly. They swiftly moved away from the spirit wood sword's location. And Yun Chong and the elders above also breathed a sigh of relief. The hidden sword pavilion is not only a spirit forbidden land, but countless formations are also buried beneath it. No Yinqi can remain here, so it is very safe. No wonder that old ghost only appeared now. For a mere ghostly creature to stay in the hidden sword pavilion, wouldn't that be courting death? As for why the other party suddenly appeared, it's actually easy to guess. Perhaps he was awakened by the luck on his daughter niece, and couldn't help but emerge from the wooden spirit sword to deceive the young girl. One must know that a person's luck is, to some extent, a form of energy, but many people simply cannot see or touch it. A 1,000-year-old ghost actually infiltrated the southern spirit sect. Fortunately, it was in the hidden sword pavilion. If it were anywhere else, wouldn't it harm countless disciples of our sect? Yin Chong's expression was serious. The most crucial thing was that this ghost actually tried to deceive his daughter and devour Yin Zai's soul. He would tear this old ghost into not even a speck of dust. Sect Master, once they leave, we will deal with this ghostly creature. This old ghost is truly too arrogant. Everyone nodded together, then showed ferocious smiles towards the wooden spirit sword. The ghostly creature, already absorbed by the spirit wood, had no idea what fate awaited him. Here, Yunqi involuntarily stopped because she saw several spirit swords actively flying towards her. Not only did they fly over, but they even twisted and turned in front of her, eventually forming a twisted knot. It was a real twisted knot, and several spirit swords twisted together. Anyone who didn't know would think these spirit swords had become spirits themselves. Several spirit swords, so gifted and extraordinary, could it be that one of them was? Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. These spirit swords are competing there. They are so pretentious, it's an eyesore. Who would have thought that the sword spirits of these spirit swords are all burly strong men? I can't take it, I can't take it. This scene is truly an eyesore. I need to turn off the system screen first. Lan Yu almost choked with laughter. She didn't know what she had clicked, but she saw several twisting spirit swords suddenly change. They turned into several burly strong men twisting and turning. It was bad enough that they were wiggling their butts and waists, but they were even winking flirtatiously. Who knew these spirit swords could be so fun? They were simply much more interesting than other places. Maybe she could often come here to look around. Gaga gaga haha. The entire cave echoed with Lan Yu's demonic laughter. Yin Zai's eyes widened in disbelief. What did Lan Yu just say? The sword spirits of these spirit swords were burly strong men? And they were wiggling their butts? Winking flirtatiously? Even Yin Shi, who had grown up in the prince's mansion, and was accustomed to all sorts of schemes, was shocked. Meanwhile, those at the top of the cave were scratching their heads and ears. What twisting, burly strong men. Can this immortal artifact even display scenes of sword spirits dancing? What kind of eyesore scene is it? Share it with them too. Only the old father, Yun Chong, had a dark face, exhaling through his nostrils. When did the spirit swords of the Hidden Sword Pavilion turn into this ghostly appearance? Chapter 13. The Ancient Sword in the Blood Pool. After choosing divine swords several times, and even picking out a ghostly creature, Yinshi was still feeling lingering fear. She thought, maybe she should just use the whip she already had. It was a high-grade spiritual artifact given to her by her cheap father, and it was quite useful. Because she was thinking too seriously, she didn't pay attention to her surroundings, and accidentally kicked a dusty long sword out of the adjacent dirt wall. This sword was actually hidden inside the dirt. Yes, this is the spirit sword. Nickname finally found her destiny spirit sword. It really wasn't easy. When I read the original work back then, I didn't notice did Nickname go through so many twists and turns while choosing her spirit sword. That's too much trouble. After Yin Shi confirmed it, she quietly wiped the spirit sword clean and hugged it close. This spirit sword is excellent. Her tone was firm. Mountaintop. Yin Chong looked at his daughter holding that spirit sword, and he was actually a little confused. This spirit sword looked dusty and even had rust marks. Could it really be a destiny spirit sword that could grow with his daughter? Since when did the Hidden Sword Pavilion have a spirit sword like this? He had never seen it before. But it was actually normal for him not to have seen it. The Hidden Sword Pavilion had a history of nearly 10,000 years, even longer than the Southern Spirit Sect had been established. There were many secrets here, which was why so many elders and disciples were needed to guard it. Since he took over as Sect Master, the Hidden Sword Pavilion hadn't seen much major activity, and he had almost forgotten that this place was once part of an ancient battlefield. Over the years, the sect's elders and disciples had continuously placed many spirit swords into the Hidden Sword Pavilion. He didn't know if the one his daughter obtained was an ancient sword left over from the ancient battlefield, or a spirit sword placed in later. Based on his eyesight, it should be the former. He also had Lan Yu to thank for the reminder, otherwise his daughter might have missed this opportunity. However, by returning the spirit sword from Lingyue Peak, he considered this karma repaid. On this side, Li Bai had also finished choosing his spirit sword. Once they had finished selecting, the rest was very simple. The two of them accompanied Lan Yu deeper inside. Although this area was a cave, it covered a very wide area, with many dark passages leading to unknown directions. They followed the direction where the spirit swords were placed, and at the very end of this passage, there was a pool. This pool was filled with bright red blood, and there was even an eerie dripping sound. All three simultaneously took a step back, their faces displaying identical expressions of lingering fear. Hey, how about we make a run for it first? They looked at each other, their gazes filled with shock and uncertainty. Did you come to retrieve Silver Snow? A hollow, ethereal female voice echoed in the cave. This voice startled the three of them badly. They were so shocked they almost jumped up. When they looked closely, sitting upright in the blood-colored pool was a woman wearing dark robes with her long hair unbound. The woman's long hair was black and smooth, and she sat quietly in the blood pool, as if she had become one with it. Blood drinker? Li Bai exclaimed, losing color in his face. Could it be that their sect was hiding an unknown demonic sword? This demonic sword must have gained sentience at some point, and was just waiting for a few little weaklings like them to deliver themselves for a big feast. Li Bai hadn't realized he had spoken his thoughts aloud, and the two young girls beside him started trembling when they heard them. No worries, I'll protect you. She gathered her courage, straightened her chest, and once again took out the spirit whip in her hand. Cece, my life is in your hands. Lan Yu instantly flashed and hid behind the female protagonist. What a joke. That black-robed woman was strong enough to be in the hidden sword pavilion, so her strength must be immense. A little weakling like herself was clearly just food delivery, but the female protagonist was different. Any protagonist had the law of immortality, and she could always save her companions at crucial moments. With such a thick thigh to hug, of course she had to cling on. Seeing Lan Yu's complete trust, She regained her courage. Only the people hidden on the top level of the cave felt speechless. Did I remember incorrectly? Wasn't Lan Yu already at 5th level Qi refining before? At this moment, Yin Cheng almost wanted to doubt his own memory. Sect Master, you did remember incorrectly. That was Lan Yu's cultivation 3 months ago. Last time I saw movement on Lingyue Peak several times. I estimate her strength has increased again, the second elder reminded him from the side. However, she has an immortal artifact protecting her, so even we cannot discern her exact cultivation level now. The second elder felt a little regretful. He was very interested in Lan Yu, and wanted to know what kind of astonishing talent a person carrying an immortal artifact possessed. So, a senior sister who is at least at the 5th level Qi refining is hiding behind a junior sister, who just completed Qi induction into body? Yin Chang's tone was filled with disbelief. How could her skin be so thick? Could it be that people who carry immortal artifacts are just different? When the people around thought of this, they were stunned for a moment, and their expressions became strange. Perhaps she isn't skilled in combat? 6th elder guessed from the side. After thinking for a moment he added, otherwise she wouldn't have failed to learn sword control for 3 months. Hearing this, the other elders laughed without restraint. So even an immortal artifact could misjudge sometimes. Yin Cheng, keep your voices down. If the immortal artifact detects you, you'll all have to go into secluded cultivation. The other elders immediately quieted down, not daring to make a sound. What a joke. Who would dare oppose an immortal artifact? The group of elite inner disciples nearby. So the elders were also this gossipy, they really had seen something new today. While the group of elders was silent as chickens, Xingyu below was also looking bewildered. What was going on with these 3 junior brothers and junior sisters? Had she been in secluded cultivation for too long? And hundreds of years had passed outside. Why else would every single one of them become so speechless? Didn't Elder Lu say you were coming to retrieve a spirit sword? Xingyu thought for a moment, then asked again. Silver Snow is the ancient sword of Lingyue Peak. However, this sword is special. You can only take it if you gain its recognition. Silver Snow, as in the snow of snowflower? Li Bai, who had just been greatly alarmed, suddenly realized this and looked a bit awkward. When he heard Blood Drinker, he thought it was some demonic sword that hadn't emerged yet. That was embarrassing. Thinking about it carefully now, how could a ferocious demonic sword be placed in the sect's hidden sword pavilion? Missing one ghostly creature was probably already a very small probability. What else did you think? Xingyu looked at these guys strangely. Actually, you can't blame senior brother. If I glanced over and saw a long-haired woman sitting in a pool full of blood, I would overthink it too. A faint inner voice transmitted over. Xingyu, dressed in dark robes, froze. She had been in meditation just now and hadn't noticed any movement outside. To suddenly hear an inner voice like this felt strange. But she quickly calmed down because Yin Cheng had already transmitted a message to her, explaining the situation, fearing that she might accidentally reveal something that would anger the immortal artifact again. You are Lan Yu, correct? Silver Snow is beneath the blood pool. As long as you can pass the trial, you will have the chance to summon it. Xingyu looked at the girl hiding furthest back, and tried her best to make her voice softer. However, perhaps because she hadn't smiled much for decades, or even centuries, when she suddenly smiled, her expression became even stiffer than before. Coincidentally, a few drops of blood dripped down from above. landing on her long eyelashes and leaving a long streak of blood. The entire space immediately fell silent, and even the elders above, who had been silent as chickens, craned their necks to look. Chapter 14. Scared the baby to death. After a brief 2 or 3 seconds, everyone heard a loud inner voice. Awoo, scared the baby to death. Scared the baby to death. Lan Yu almost burst into tears. What she feared most were ghosts, Sadako, and things like that. Wasn't this testing the limits of her little heart? Xing Yu's smile across from her grew stiffer, and her fists were getting hard. She wanted to punch the kid. Scared the baby to death? From above, the second elder's voice was puzzled. Where did this little baby come from? Why hadn't they noticed? Isn't this the baby? A big baby. The sixth elder pointed in Lan Yu's direction, nearly choking with laughter. Everyone. So it was this kind of baby. After a moment of chaos, Lan Yu finally mustered her courage, intending to venture into the blood pool. Since she was already here, she couldn't possibly leave without taking a spirit sword back, right? Moreover, having such a powerful senior sister guarding it, and placing it deep within the hidden sword pavilion, indicated that this sword was definitely extraordinary. Not taking a spirit sword that she could get for free was foolish. However, just as Lan Yu lifted her foot, she became hesitant again. This was the blood pool. It was filled with flowing red blood. Could she really step into it? Furthermore, the senior sister had mentioned that to obtain the ancient sword, she must pass an assessment. What if the assessment involved a blood pool fright? Forget frights, even a random ghost could scare her half to death. Maybe she should first think about how to pass the test? Perhaps there was a trick to it. Should she check the system first to scout the situation? If she scouted this senior sister, maybe she could find the clearance information. She truly was a little genius. Lan Yu opened the eating melon system again, but to her despair, her head was already starting to spin. Whenever this happened, it meant her mental energy was insufficient, and she couldn't consume new melons. This was truly agonizing. Why did her mental energy run out at this critical moment? Lan Yu had completely forgotten that after confirming the female protagonist had found her destined sword, she had already checked most of the spirit swords nearby. Checking spirit swords also required consuming mental energy. It was already impressive that her mental energy lasted this long. Since that's the case, let me think carefully. Should I step with my left foot first, or my right foot? Is stepping with the left foot first not good? Are there any specific rules? Then the right foot. But the right foot. Silver Snow Sword. So annoying, stop dawdling. Are you coming to find me or not? A young, boyish voice came out. Lan Yu was startled when she saw a silver ancient sword break free from the blood pool's restraint, fly over with a whoosh, and land in her arms. Silver Snow Sword, see? Wasn't that easier? Humans are such a bother. They even have to distinguish between left and right feet when walking. The spirit sword came out by itself. Yin Zai's voice nearby was filled with surprise. She was genuinely happy for Lan Yu. This is the Silver Snow Sword? It seems you two are quite fated. It actually flew out on its own. Li Bai examined the spirit sword with a smile. However, the 3 individuals below didn't notice that everyone, whether the senior sister in front of them, or the people on the cave ceiling, was tense, acting as if facing a formidable enemy. How could they not be nervous? This was an ancient sword left behind from the ancient battlefield. It was said that the person who wielded this ancient sword was an immortal, but this immortal eventually fell into devilishness. And the long sword in his hand was stained with the blood of countless people, infected by the devilish chi of this immortal lord. Even the spirit sword became volatile, and its heart nature changed. Although it hadn't completely become a devil sword yet, it was probably only a matter of time. Therefore, the Southern Spirit Sect had always suppressed it in the hidden sword pavilion, even using the essence blood of high-level spirit beasts to draw an ancient formation to suppress this ancient sword, and periodically sent an outstanding disciple to guard it. To suppress the Silver Snow Sword, they had expended countless efforts and set conditions. Only someone who completed the assessment could take the Silver Snow Sword out. Yet, not only did this spirit sword fly out on its own initiative, but it was also obediently resting in the arms of a chi-refining disciple. The people hidden in the cave, Even the Sect Master were nearly utterly bewildered. In other words, the formation they painstakingly prepared was completely useless. Otherwise, how could Silver Snow have come out so easily? Yin Chong. How should he put it? He suddenly felt that the Southern Spirit Sect's long-term planning was simply a joke. Silver Snow was already free to come and go. It was likely that the reason it hadn't moved before was simply because it didn't want to move, right? This was a bit heartbreaking. Tears were welling up in Yin Chong's eyes. Below, Lan Yu was still in a daze. I didn't miss here, right? Was that you talking just now? She stared at the silver long sword in her arms, and finally asked a quiet question in her heart. Silver Snow, dawdling human, if it wasn't me talking, who else could it be? Besides me, who else can hear your inner voice? The silver-white long sword flipped over perfunctorily, and then stopped moving again. Holy crap, you can actually hear my inner voice. What kind of spirit sword are you? Are you that amazing? Silver Snow. Is that so surprising? And don't call me a spirit sword, I am an immortal sword. A genuine immortal sword. Silver Snow suddenly sprang up, bent its body, and harshly knocked Lan Yu's head with its sword hilt. If you knock me out, nobody will take you eating melon. Lan Yu said woozily. She finally understood why this ancient sword rushed out on its own, and was willing to stay in her arms. So it heard her inner voice about eating melon. Sure enough, eating melon was the shared instinct of all living things. Even sword spirits were no exception. It must be said that Lan Yu's guess was correct. Hearing her words, Silver Snow restrained its strength, only giving a final symbolic tap before quickly burrowing back into her arms. Silver Snow. Who wants to eat your melons? I just find somewhat pleasing to the eye and plan to find a servant. The Silver Snow sword suddenly burst out with a flash of silver-white light. And the shimmering light made the people on the top layer of the cave incredibly nervous. Under the nervous gaze of these people, a spirited white long-haired cat walked out from the silver light. It fiercely slapped Lan Yu's forehead, then jumped back into the silver light and sat there solemnly. Lan Yu stood woozily again, a pink cat paw print resting on her head. Such a cute little kitten, and an arrogant little kitten at that. Who could resist? Lan Yu instantly felt another part of herself awakening. Lan Yu. Okay, Silver Snow Lord. Let this old servant serve you well. Just follow this old servant, it'll take you to eat delicious food and drink spicy things in the future. Calling herself old servant repeatedly, yet her tone sounded like a madam intending to abduct a beauty, making Silver Snow shiver involuntarily. What a strange human. It took one last look at the human in front of it, and its small body vanished directly. Only Lan Yu was left standing in place. Sighing regretfully, she hadn't even managed to pet the little kitten's head. However, everyone on the top layer of the cave fell silent. Since they could hear Lan Yu's inner voice, they naturally guessed that the ancient sword Silver Snow was communicating with her. So Silver Snow didn't know that everyone within a certain range could hear Lan Yu's inner voice? Of course, this wasn't the crucial point. The key was that this spirit sword actually left with her just for eating melon? Why did they feel like something inside them had shattered? I never expected the sword spirit of the ancient sword Silver Snow to have this kind of heart nature. It seems we misunderstood it before. Yin Chong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Previously, the entire Southern Spirit Sect treated it as a formidable enemy, wishing they could stack formation after formation onto Silver Snow. Who knew that the real Silver Snow was also a little fellow who didn't want to be left behind, and wanted to eat melon too. A true child's heart nature. At this moment, Yin Chong had completely forgotten why they had come here in the first place. When it came to eating melon, he, the Sect Master, and the group of elders beside him were equally enthusiastic. After Lan Yu skipped away, hugging the spirit sword, along with the other two, the elders above stared at the young girl's cheerful figure for a long time. Sect Master, is it appropriate to entrust this sword to a young girl, who has just achieved chi induction into body? The second elder turned his head to look at the Sect Master, who had just appeared, feeling worried. Even the elder of Spirit Sword Peak couldn't control it. What if this sword loses control? Speaking of the elder of Spirit Sword Peak, who was also Lan Yu's master, he was the one with the highest cultivation among them. If even that person couldn't manage it, could others? No matter. Yin Chong shook his head.
Lang Iwe possessed an immortal artifact.
Now, only an immortal artifact can suppress this ancient sword. Why else would he proactively allow Lan Yu to come and claim it? It was precisely for this consideration. Perhaps eating melon can also work? Yin Chong thought for a moment and added. Everyone. Chapter 15. That's an ancestor. After Lan Yu left the Hidden Sword Pavilion, the inner sect disciples who had been eavesdropping for half the day couldn't help but descend, grinning and laughing until they almost choked. They had been stationed here for so many years and hadn't encountered anything this interesting in a long time. They truly wished this junior sister could stay at the Hidden Sword Pavilion longer. However, their regret was useless. The Hidden Sword Pavilion is a spirit-forbidden land, and it would be detrimental to the cultivation of a young person who had just introduced qi into their body to stay here for too long. You were all up there? Xingyu, sitting cross-legged in the blood pool, wiped the bloodstain from her face, her tone strange. She hadn't sensed any presence at first. How could these few, whose cultivation was clearly inferior to hers, hide so perfectly? It was truly strange. The Sect Master was also up there, and he has the Hidden Sword Pavilion token, Jiang Li explained. After Yin Chong arrived, he immediately used the token to conceal everyone's presence. The meteorite or inside the Hidden Sword Pavilion was originally a relic left behind from an ancient battlefield, which was later crafted into a matching token by the Southern Spirit Sect Ancestral Master. It was no less powerful than any top-tier spiritual artifact in the cultivation world. On the mountaintop, the elders were still discussing. Sect Master. The Silver Snow Ancient Sword is likely an immortal sword. If we just give it to Lan Yu, won't she possess 2 immortal artifacts? The second elder was somewhat worried. This girl already had 1 immortal artifact, which was enough to make everyone afraid to provoke her. If she got another immortal sword with extremely powerful offense, wouldn't she be able to walk sideways across the cultivation world? Don't overthink it. Even if Silver Snow stayed in the Southern Spirit Sect, do you think we could control it? Yin Chong had a very good mindset. He thought very clearly. They were never able to control this ancient sword. They appeared to have heavily suppressed this ancient sword beneath the blood pool. Yet who knew it would fly out effortlessly on its own? If the Hidden Sword Pavilion wasn't a special place, Silver Snow would probably have run off somewhere long ago. So what if it's an immortal sword? Instead of keeping it here and getting a headache, it's better to let those 2 immortal artifacts balance each other out. Lan Yu is a disciple of the Southern Spirit Sect anyway, so won't they be the beneficiaries in the end? MHM. Although there were occasionally some mishaps, like the occasional piece of gossip being leaked, the general direction was correct. Therefore, compared to Silver Snow, Yin Chong was more curious about the rusted sword in his daughter's hand. Since it could grow along with his daughter's cultivation, this rusted sword likely had a significant background. Even the rust marks on the surface were probably intentionally displayed. Alright, everyone go back. He waved his hand, dismissing the elders. They still had many things to attend to. The sect needed people watching it constantly. They couldn't stay here forever. The elders disappeared one by one using the teleportation array. When Yin Chong turned around, he saw one person still remaining, who hadn't left. Elder Lu, why haven't you left yet? Yin Chong raised an eyebrow, thinking, could it be that this guy felt too ashamed to show his face? Sect Master, you haven't released the immortal binding rope yet, Elder Lu said with a dark expression. He wanted to leave. Sect Master. Yin Chong was stunned. He glanced at the immortal binding rope in his hand and finally released the man. Although Elder Lu had 18 Dao companions, he hadn't done anything truly detrimental to the sect. Having him tied up in the Hidden Sword Pavilion for this period was already considered Yin Chong using his public office for private revenge. There was nothing he could do. Who told this man, despite being so old, to bully a young girl? Elder Lu, you should go back and properly resolve your personal relationship issues, Yin Chong said, narrowing his eyes and slowly retracting the immortal binding lock. Hearing this, Elder Lu's expression became exceptionally colorful. That night, after returning, Lan Yu was about to sleep when she suddenly heard the dinging sound of the system. Her heart immediately trembled. and she instantly sprang up from the bed. Every time this sound appeared, it meant she had gained energy from eating melon, and her cultivation could be raised again. Lanyu, elementary eating melon crowd. Cultivation. Qi refining 6th layer. Current melon seeds, 365. Convertible spiritual power, 165. Convert cultivation? Note: this energy can be used to convert cultivation. Other functions await exploration. Convert. Of course, convert. These melon seeds were equivalent to the energy she gained from eating melon, and could be used to convert into cultivation. What could be more important than cultivation in the cultivation world? If her cultivation wasn't high, she would forever be a small cannon fodder, unable to lie flat even if she wanted to. Therefore, Lan Yu's current goal was to consume all the melons of the 3 realms. Strive to raise her cultivation, and allow herself to successfully lie flat. Once those 100+ melon seeds were successfully converted, she heard only a slight fluctuation, and her cultivation reached the Qi refining 7th layer. After completing all this, she lay down contentedly. Early the next morning, Lingwei Peak. Lanyu was dreaming. In the dream, an indistinct little dumplings gave her 2 big slaps, instantly waking her up. Unexpectedly, after waking up, her face actually felt cool, and she faintly sensed a touch.
Lang Iwe,
Who came over and slapped her while she was sleeping. Who was so immoral? As her vision gradually cleared, she saw a silver-white long sword standing upright in front of her. Silver Snow stood there quietly, looking very obedient. Lanyu stared at this ancient sword for a long time, but didn't see it twitch at all, perhaps sensing her gaze. The silver-white long sword actively moved closer, and burrowed into her embrace. It must have been a dream. Lanyu rubbed her eyes. She felt she must have slept too long, and was having hallucinations. What evil intentions could such a cute little kitten sword spirit have? Even if it had any, it would only be trying to wake her up. Let's go. We're going to practice sword flight. From now on, it'll be someone with an exclusive ride. Lanyu excitedly hugged Silver Snow and ran outside. The novel The Path to Immortal Cultivation and Longevity has a different setting from other cultivation novels. One can practice sword flight during the Qi refining period. This is even cooler than flying on a broomstick. She vowed to learn sword control no matter what. However, an hour later, Lanyu sat listlessly inside the early cultivation hall, her eyes fighting to stay open. She didn't want to be this sleepy. But after struggling with sword control for 2 hours and falling down repeatedly, she was exhausted. This art of sword control really wasn't meant for humans to learn. Why was it so difficult? Her balance was quite good when she rode a bike or something before, so why couldn't she maintain her balance every time she stood on the spirit sword? Even the immortal sword couldn't save her. Lanyu, system, tell me what's going on. Why can't I learn sword control? Silver Snow. Who are you talking to? Lanyu, just the system. Your other partner, but it doesn't like to talk and often doesn't come out. Silver Snow. You actually have another immortal artifact. You have another immortal artifact. The tender tone was incredibly shocked. This made Lanyu feel a little guilty, feeling like a scummy woman dating 2 people at once. Lanyu, everyone is a good partner, You and Tongzi are my most beloved treasures. The less Lanyu explained in her heart, the better. But the more she explained, the less she knew what she was saying. Then she only felt her right cheek cool down. And immediately afterward, the silver-white long sword vanished, having burrowed off somewhere unknown. Lanyu felt this familiar sensation, and slowly widened her eyes. So the sensation of being slapped while she slept wasn't a dream, it really was this guy who did it. However, no matter what she did, it was powerless rage, because Silver Snow had already slipped away. Lanyu, forget it. How can such great time be wasted? Let's just eat melon. This thought spread throughout the early cultivation hall, and all the other disciples pricked up their ears. The elder who was leading the disciples through the cultivation world map at the front felt helpless, suffering a headache just like any teacher encountering a problem student. What was even more frustrating was that although this student occasionally gossiped, her performance in studies wasn't bad at all. She could remember every piece of common knowledge about the cultivation world that he taught clearly. This left the elder unable to find any fault. Ahem. Today we are going to talk about the cultivation 4 domains. Our cultivation world is divided into 4 regions: the Eastern Domain, the Southern Domain, the Western Domain, and the Northern Domain. These 4 places, along with the Central Sacred Land, form the current cultivation world. The location we are currently in is the Southern Domain. In fact, the cultivation 4 domains and the Central Sacred Land were originally connected, jointly forming the cultivation world. Later, a chaotic battle occurred in this region. The Central Sacred Land disappeared during the battle, and the remaining 4 continents gradually drifted apart, forming the current cultivation 4 domains. It took 10,000 years of time to form the current appearance. You can see how magical time is. 10,000 years have passed. Everything is subject to great changes. Just as the elder on the stage sighed, a mental voice suddenly transmitted again. Lan Yu, that's wrong. How could they have slowly drifted away, due to the passage of time? Weren't those 4 continents carried away by the cultivators of the past who were fighting and killing each other out of anger? I heard they even drew a dividing line, lol. It smells like primary school kids fighting together. The elder on the stage held his breath in his throat, and couldn't recover for a long time. Those were their ancestors. How could she refer to the ancestors like that? Chapter 16. LOL, running away with the child. However, no matter how much he was spitting blood internally, this elder still quietly extended his spiritual sense, because he really wanted to know what happened 10,000 years ago. Even the history he taught these little brats was only passed down through the generations. How could it compare to what an immortal artifact knew? Lan Yu. Actually, I'm quite curious how these people managed to carry 4 continents and run wildly in different directions. Could their prototypes all be deep-sea spirit turtles? Lan Yu remembered that in her previous life, there was an animated show where a giant turtle supported a continent, but she had already forgotten the name of the show and its content. So she curiously opened the system. Lan Yu. So they pushed them bit by bit. They pushed for over 1,000 years. That's too much perseverance. What kind of hatred could make those people so persistent? I'm really curious. Let me check if there's any detailed gossip. Lan Yu's head was buried deeply. She didn't notice that the silver spirit sword beside her had quietly moved closer, and even the people next to her were leaning their bodies toward her. Lan Yu, what's going on? Why did this title go out? It turned gray. Tongzi, come out quickly, what's happening? Lan Yu was feeling curious, but the title in front of her suddenly turned black, making her scratch her head in frustration. System, your mental energy is insufficient. To prevent you from fainting immediately after reading it, I locked it. Lan Yu felt regretful upon hearing this. She should have known not to search for the reason behind the separation of the 4 domains. To have such good gossip right in front of her, but be unable to view it due to insufficient mental energy was truly heartbreaking. It was truly heartbreaking, so heartbreaking, since even Lan Yu couldn't view it. The others sitting in the early cultivation hall were also somewhat regretful. Conversely, the elder at the front breathed a sigh of relief. His mood was extremely complicated now. He wanted to know what happened 10,000 years ago from Lan Yu, but he also didn't want his ancestors to lose face. Ahem. Next I will properly explain our 4 domains of cultivation. The elder's face was once again covered in smiles. Although we call them the 4 domains of cultivation, only the northern domain is closest to our southern domain. We barely have any interaction with the other 2 regions. 1,000 years ago, the closest relationship we had was with the North Ridge Holy Land in the northern domain. It's just a pity that recently, the relationship between our sect and Northern Ridge is not so. The elder hadn't even finished speaking when he heard the surrounding disciples discussing amongst themselves below. North Ridge Holy Land. Could it be the Holy Land where the North Ridge Holy Sun is from? The North Ridge Holy Sun? Could he be the saint who has a love-hate relationship with our Sect Master? Yes, that's right. It's said that this saint even bore the Sect Master a daughter. And they've already come knocking on our door. Wait, that's not right. I heard that our Sect Master was the one who abandoned them after a fling, trying to dump the saint. As a result, The saint threw the daughter over in a fit of rage, and ran away himself. Is that how it is? Then I must have heard wrong. I feel like your version is more reliable. The elder on the stage watched these people discuss, listening as the sect master's reputation slowly fell, finally hitting the ground with a crash and shattering into pieces. Who on earth started this rumor? But he was also at the martial arts arena and heard it, alright? How did the details of this love-hate saga change versions so quickly? Turning into the sect master abandoning them after a fling? Does the sect master know about this? Wouldn't he be furious to death if he knew? In the last seat of the early cultivation hall, Lan Yu, leaning back, listened with great interest, finding it extremely amusing. She was completely unaware that some of the events had originated from her, only that they had gone slightly awry after being spread. After all, this was normal. Who could have imagined that the gossip she had enjoyed at the martial arts arena would eventually turn into the version where the sect master abandoned them after a fling, and the North Ridge Holy Sun ran away with the child? She estimated that if she came back to listen again after some time, perhaps the North Ridge Holy Sun would have even turned into the North Ridge Saintess, with a complete gender swap. Lan Yu, sigh, it seems this world really is different from what I remember. I must have transmigrated into a fanfiction novel. Lang Yue. Since that's the case, let me eat some more gossip to calm myself down. Should I delve into the big gossip about the Sect Master and the North Ridge Holy Sun? Lan Yu. The gossip about Elder by Mei Lu has actually been updated. I'll take a look at this first. As her thoughts finished, everyone's gaze subtly turned towards her, their eyes filled with anticipation. There was actually new gossip. They hadn't heard this before. Some disciples who had caught wind of the news were already secretly using sound transmission to explain to others what Elder Lu's previous gossip was about. Lan Yu. Let me see what happened on Elder by Mei Lu's side that made the system update again. Lan Yu was happily refreshing the system interface with her head buried down, completely unaware that a very familiar figure had arrived outside the early cultivation hall. The person who arrived from outside the early cultivation hall was naturally Elder Lu, who had previously been stationed at the Hidden Sword Pavilion. Although the Hidden Sword Pavilion didn't have much spiritual chi, guarding it was extremely boring, lasting anywhere from 3 years to 10 or 50 years. But how could anyone possibly hold fast here for so many years if there were no benefits? How could those talented inner sect disciples with decent cultivation and bright futures be willing to come here for a task? Of course, it was because the Hidden Sword Pavilion offered extremely high compensation. Spirit stones were secondary. As long as they guarded the Hidden Sword Pavilion for long enough, they would get priority in selecting the newest spirit medicine produced by the Spirit Medicine Pavilion. Even the spiritual artifacts crafted by the Spiritual Artifact Peak could be prioritized for them, and they would even receive significant discounts. Furthermore, a spirit forbidden land like the Hidden Sword Pavilion was also a place to temper one's heart nature. Many people wished to come here but couldn't. Elder Lu originally thought he could continue working for a few hundred more years, but he unexpectedly received an early dismissal from the Hidden Sword Pavilion and was reassigned to the Early Cultivation Hall. The Early Cultivation Hall sounded decent, but in reality it was just a place to lecture a bunch of little brats, so his expression was naturally poor. As soon as he arrived at the peak where the Early Cultivation Hall was located, flying on his sword, his legs went weak and he nearly fell. Can someone tell him why Lan Yu is here too? Isn't she already at the middle stage of chi condensation? Why is she still coming to the Early Cultivation Hall, a place for beginners? Lan Yu, so that's it. It turns out Elder by Mei Lu met with those Dao companions again, after going back. Lan Yu, wow. Elder Lu was actually ruthless enough to kick all his Dao companions out, even issuing a harsh warning that he would never see them again. Lan Yu, is this still Elder Lu, the one who took 18 Dao companions in one go? Could he really have been stimulated after being kicked out of the Hidden Sword Pavilion by the Sect Master yesterday? The matter of Elder Lu being forced to leave the Hidden Sword Pavilion was known by quite a few people, especially here at the Early Cultivation Hall. Most of the disciples who come here are newly initiated disciples. They are extremely curious about the sect, and usually, any gossip spreads on the same day, without having to wait until tomorrow or the day after. Lan Yu's sources of information were extremely wide, so she naturally received the news too. Lan Yu, it seems Elder Lu is truly angry this time. He didn't even give those Dao companions spirit stones before driving them all out. Lan Yu, so many beautiful, delicate women shivering in the wind and rain. How pitiful. One beauty was so cold she nearly fainted. Elder Lu's heart is too cruel. Lan Yu could sometimes see videos here, but viewing a video would definitely consume even more mental energy. She now felt that the mental energy in her mind was like the battery life or data usage of a mobile phone in her previous life. If either ran out, it would affect her ability to continue gossiping. However, out of curiosity about what Elder Lu's 18 Dao companions looked like, she still clicked it open. Before she clicked it open, the silver snow sword, which had secretly crept over from the right, softly patted her. Stop messing around, I'm trying to gossip. Lan Yu subconsciously pushed the silver long sword away. However, after 2 seconds, she realized that what she had just pushed away seemed to be silver snow. Lan Yu quickly turned her head and saw that Silver Snow's sword spirit had manifested, complete with 2 short legs. Looking completely puffed up with anger. Chapter 17. Where is my niece this big? This look almost melted her heart, and she quickly hugged the soft, white little spirit sword. Silver Snow. This immortal sword wants to see it too. Alright, look, I'll show you. Lan Yu agreed repeatedly, remembering that the video viewer seemed to have a sharing function. Because of the system, and the many secrets hidden in her mind, she hadn't used this function before. But now that she had Silver Snow, she felt she could totally share it. Things like eating melon should be shared with others to bring happiness. What's the point of enjoying it alone? Everyone should enjoy it together. So she clicked share directly, and immediately a video of a beauty in the rain appeared in the minds of everyone nearby. Lan Yu, unaware of the consequences, was still happily holding Silver Snow. Lan Yu. No wonder Elder Lu fell for them. With so many delicate beauties, who wouldn't be tempted? Lan Yu. Even if there are male beauties cross-dressing here, it's still tempting. Cross-dressing masters are truly impressive. Elder Lu, standing outside the early cultivation hall, no longer wanted to speak. Seeing so many people looking at him with curious gazes, he nearly fainted. How could he still not avoid Lan Yu? Even after coming all the way to the early cultivation hall. Lan Yu. Elder Lu was very forceful when chasing people away this time, and his words were exceptionally harsh, successfully making his Dao companions give up hope. Those delicate beauties have already decided to ignore Elder Lu and return to their sects for secluded cultivation. Many people agreed with this outcome. What was so good about a guy like Elder Lu, whose eyebrows were completely white? It was only because cultivators aged slowly that his face was still relatively handsome. No matter how handsome he was, could one person really possess 18 Dao companions? Bah! Even the elder on the stage was inwardly despising this fellow sect member. Lan Yu. But among these Dao companions he chased away, was the white moonlight he had yearned for all these years. This plot was also melodramatic. The white moonlight was chased by enemies and was near death, but was rescued by the combined efforts of those Dao companions and brought back to the sect. He sought 18 Dao companions as substitutes, and it turned out his white moonlight was among the substitutes. This kind of plot would have been explosive even in old TV dramas. If Elder Lu knew the person he had thought about for so many years was among the substitutes he prepared, and he had even chased them all away, he would probably be half dead with anger. Silver Snow. This person is truly promiscuous, to actually have so many Dao companions. Lan Yu, exactly. One must be dedicated and definitely shouldn't learn from those playboy elders. Silver Snow, even as a spirit sword, you need to be careful. Silver Snow. This lord is an immortal sword, not a spirit sword. Lan Yu. Alright, our Silver Snow Lord, who is filled with immortal chi, you are the most amazing. After Lan Yu finished coaxing Silver Snow in her mind, she noticed that everyone around her was craning their necks to look behind them. What happened back there, Xiaoming? She quietly tugged the boy next to her. The boy's name was Feng Ming, someone she had met on her first day in the sect, and she had learned a lot of gossip from him. At this moment, Fong Ming was wearing a gray-brown outer sect disciple robe, his small face extremely mysterious. Lan Yu, do you know who just arrived? Fong Ming lowered his voice. Who arrived? Lan Yu also grew curious. Could it be that some important figure had come to the sect again? Or perhaps the clan itself had arrived? Elder Lu just came by. It said he chased away all 18 Dao companions he kept at home. Fong Ming lowered his voice even further as he said this. You already knew? Lan Yu was utterly astonished. Could it be that she was actually the last person in the entire sect to hear this gossip? Not only that, but it said that the woman Elder Lu liked most back then was among those people. He probably found out about it and ran away immediately without even entering the early cultivation hall. A girl nearby also leaned in and joined their discussion. Hearing what these people were discussing, Lan Yu was heartbroken. She couldn't believe that the gossip she had spent mental energy on was already known by so many people. If she had known this earlier, she could have gotten the gossip from them, saved her mental energy for the day, and sought out new gossip. At this moment, Lan Yu's expression was as if she had missed out on 10 billion spirit stones. The two people across from her naturally dared not say they heard it from Lan Yu's inner thoughts, so they could only nod there. I can't believe Elder Lu had such a history. When I saw him at the Hidden Sword Pavilion a while ago, I thought he was very kind and benevolent, a truly good elder. Fong Ming sighed like a little adult. Who could have known? After all, no one would guess that one person could simultaneously have 18 Dao companions. The girl across from them was also incredulous. I guess it will be the wife-chasing cremation ground soon. Lan Yu interjected with a smile as she listened to the gossip. What is the wife-chasing cremation ground? Fong Ming looked over curiously. How to explain it? If I had to describe it, it means that at first you completely ignored me and inflicted emotional and physical abuse, but later you suddenly repented. And now pursuing me again is difficult. Lan Yu recalled the memes from her previous life and summed it up in one sentence. That's great. Elder Lu should be treated like that after doing those things. The round-faced girl across from them clapped her hands in approval. But even if Elder Lu pursues her, he shouldn't be allowed to get what he wants. Bury him directly in the cremation ground. There weren't many girls with such awareness. After hearing this, Lan Yu carefully scrutinized the girl, and finally realized her face looked familiar. Have we met somewhere? She scratched her head, feeling confused. What is your name? Luan Ning. It's thanks to you that Uncle was able to find me back then. Luan Ning reached out her chubby little hand directly and gratefully held Lan Yu's hand. Don't worry, from now on, as long as I'm in the sect, I will definitely protect you. Luan Ning raised her plump little face, her tone exceptionally sincere. So it was you. Lan Yu suddenly understood. She had wondered why they seemed to have met recently. It was on Luchi Mountain. Could it be that this person is the protagonist of the fanfiction? Luan Ning, who was currently discussing here, had no idea that far away on Cloud Mist Mountain, her real uncle had been sitting there waiting for 3 days and 3 nights without finding anyone, and was now completely distraught. My little brother said that my niece came to the Southern Spirit Sect during this period, and even came to the mountains to gain experience. This is the mountain where outer sect disciples usually come to gain experience, but where is she? Where is my niece this big? Chapter 18. Does Southern Spirit Sect produce wigs? Niece or not niece, Lan Yu didn't know. She knew that the room she was in was about to fall apart. That's right, the entire early cultivation hall was trembling. Tiles were falling one by one from above, and the formations on the walls emitted dazzling lights. If one didn't know better, they would think the end of the world had arrived early. In reality, a powerful being was attacking this mountain peak. This group of chi induction into body practitioners was picked up one by the surrounding elders and placed in a safe location. For some reason, Lan Yu always felt that those disciples were closer to her. Could it be that the elders wanted her to protect those disciples? But she was only in the middle stage of chi refining, and she was a trash with only cultivation. How could she protect so many people? Just as Lan Yu was feeling troubled, Luan Ning behind her raised her bracelet. Everyone, don't move. Hide inside my defensive magical artifact first. Once the elders are free, we will be rescued. Lan Yu. Alright, so I was overthinking it. I knew it. am just a small cannon fodder. Since there's nothing for me to do, I'll take another look. Lanyu was about to click on the new gossip updated by the system when she felt something huge suddenly fall from the sky. Then thump, smashing a large pit into the ground in front of them. A group of disciples huddled together, trembling, not daring to move. They had only joined the sect not long ago. Where had they seen such a scene? The protective formation of the early cultivation hall's mountain peak was shaking violently. The elders gathered together to resist desperately, and the falling object could even smash deep pits into the ground. Lanyu, what just fell down? Could it be a golden core stage Yao beast? As soon as her inner voice came out, the surrounding disciples hugged each other even tighter. But they didn't dare to flee randomly. After all, even the protective grand formation was trembling. Fleeing would only be suicide. Lanyu, oh, I misread it. It's not a Yao beast, it's our sect's elder by Mei Lu. Why did he suddenly fall from the sky? Elder by Mei? Elder by Mei is in there. A roar came from not far from the deep pit. This roar successfully attracted everyone's attention, and they involuntarily looked over there. Elder by Mei lay on the ground, his clothes disheveled, and blood even spilled from the corner of his mouth. Elder by Mei, are you alright? Elder by Mei, should we call other elders to save you? These disciples, having just heard the gossip about Elder by Mei, were very concerned about this elder. You don't need to come over. This is what I deserve. Elder by Mei coughed up blood while shaking his head. The disciples outside the deep pit exchanged glances. Just as they were at a loss, a voice came from outside the protective formation again. Don't stop me, I'm going to kill that white-browed guy. This was a very majestic female voice, filled with anger. Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect, you are a guest in my sect. Why do you harm the elders of my Southern Spirit Sect? Yin Chong naturally rushed over at this time. Actually, the Southern Spirit Sect was composed of mountains, and the mountain peak where the early cultivation hall was located was just one of the Southern Spirit Sect's peaks. Just now, Yin Chong had thought that this Sect Master was simply coming as a guest to strengthen the relationship between the two sects, but he didn't expect her to turn around and disappear, striking a palm towards the mountain peak, where the early cultivation hall was located. Thinking about who was in the early cultivation hall, Yin Chong's heart almost stopped beating. Why was his daughter so unlucky? He had just had Yin Shi brought over, and then the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect directly attacked. Oh. And Lanyu was also at the early cultivation hall. This fellow often dozed off during early cultivation hall sessions, and had been detained there by the elders for 3 months. The two of them were equally unlucky. Yin Chong, go back to wherever you came from. This is a personal grudge, and it has nothing to do with you. That white-browed guy deceived my daughter's feelings, and while she was injured and had amnesia, he tricked her into becoming his Dao companion. Now he's driving her away. If I don't kill that white-browed guy now, I, the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect, will have no face to continue. On the mountaintop, a woman sitting on a red moon had red eyes, exuding an aura that would kill gods and slay Buddhas. Hearing her explanation, Yin Chong's mouth twitched. How about you two fight outside? Yin Chong didn't intend to interfere anymore. Who told Elder Lu to deceive someone's daughter? Now he just hoped that the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect didn't know that Elder Lu actually had 18 Dao companions. Otherwise, if she got angry, wouldn't she overturn their entire Southern Spirit Sect? Lanyu. Could it be that the news of Elder by Mei having 18 Dao companions spread, and he's being chased and beaten? Let me see. It turns out to be the White Moonlight's mother who came to kill him. Lanyu. So the White Moonlight is actually the daughter of the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect. No wonder Elder by Mei only dared to find substitutes all these years. He really couldn't defeat her. You white-browed fellow, you have 18 Dao companions, and you still dare to provoke my daughter, and even find a substitute. Go to hell. After an earth-shattering tremor, the defensive formation of the early cultivation hall completely shattered. In the end, it was Yin Chong who acted, protecting everyone on the mountain. Of course, he did not protect Elder by Mei, but rather picked him up and threw him out. Sect Master, thank you. Elder Lu coughed up a large mouthful of blood with a wah sound. Are you alright? Yin Chong was a little worried. If Elder Lu died here, Wouldn't the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect be furious? Sect Master, you don't need to worry. All these things are my own doing, and I should bear the consequences myself. Elder Lu cupped his hands. He shakily sat on his spirit sword and flew up. After flying up, he knelt directly before the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect with lightning speed. Mother, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have failed to recognize Shiner. Please hit me. He voluntarily offered himself up for a beating, and the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect across from him trembled. Who's your mother? Don't try to claim kinship. My daughter will have nothing to do with you from now on. Mother, let me see Shiner. Have her injuries healed? It's all my fault. Everything is my fault. Elder Lu's voice was filled with deep regret. Are you deaf? My daughter has nothing to do with you anymore. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect was practically going crazy. You old cucumber, old vegetable stalk, and you still dare to covet my daughter? Go to hell. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect directly attacked. A moon wheel flew over, cleanly severing Elder Lu's white eyebrows on both sides. It was precisely when these immortal kind-fused white eyebrows were cut off that everyone discovered there was actually a patch of black underneath. And after changing to black eyebrows, Elder Bai Mei looked much younger and quite handsome. However, everyone's attention was no longer on him, but rather drawn by the inner voice that came again. Even the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect looked on with a hint of curiosity. Lan Yu, so Elder Bai Mei's eyebrows are also fake. That's too funny. First Fifth Elder's fake beard, and now Elder Bai Mei's fake eyebrows. Does Southern Spirit Sect specialize in producing these wigs, fake eyebrows and fake beards? Yin Chong next to her. The reputation of Southern Spirit Sect is being harmed. What fake hair, fake beards, fake eyebrows? These are all things those elders like themselves, okay? How can you say Southern Spirit Sect specializes in producing them? As expected of Lan Yu, she can even guess that my hair is fake. The sixth elder scratched his head awkwardly. He just wanted to make himself look more handsome. What was wrong with that? After the sixth elder said this, everyone fell silent. Yin Chong's vision even went black. It's over. When did Southern Spirit Sect become such a mess? All the elders like to wear wigs. Father, do you like them too? How about daughter makes one for you personally? Yin Shi, who had been brought over, pondered. No, Xiaoxi, listen to father explain. Father wouldn't like this kind of wig. And Southern Spirit Sect doesn't specialize in producing wigs. Yin Chong tried his best to explain. However, Yin Shi across from him still had a thoughtful expression. It's over, this rumor can't be cleared up. Even his own daughter doesn't believe him anymore. Chapter 19. Perhaps it is hell. Far away from the deep pit, the surrounding disciples were also discussing quietly. Just as Lan Yu was secretly checking the system and eating melon, Feng Ming quietly approached her. Lan Yu, isn't this the wife-chasing crematorium you were talking about? Lan Yu looked up and saw Elder Bai Mei being swung around by the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect, occasionally being smashed into the deep pit. Just watching it made her whole body ache. Perhaps this is no longer a crematorium, but hell?
Lan ai smell thở toai.
The others deeply agreed. Before long, Elder Bai Mei was again carried off by the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect and disappeared. The entire Southern Spirit Sect returned to peace. After this incident, the early cultivation hall would not be able to open for 10 days to half a month, as it had been half destroyed. Lan Yu finally didn't have to be detained at the early cultivation hall. Her mood was indescribably wonderful. She definitely needed to sleep until noon every day to make up for getting up so early for so many days. However, just as she lay down on the bed, she heard an excited voice from outside. Junior sister, come out quickly. I'll teach you sword control. Li Bai stepped onto his golden long sword and flew outside the Linghua Peak protective array. Yes, he had come to fulfill his promise. Since he had promised to teach his junior sister sword control, he wouldn't break his word. Not only that, but he also brought Yin Shi along. Yin Shi had just completed Qi induction into body and hadn't found a master yet. Of course, it wasn't that no one wanted her. It was because her Sect Master father had high standards and insisted on finding the most powerful master for his daughter. So for now, she was following Li Bai to learn sword control and some basic sword techniques, waiting until Yin Chong found someone before sending his daughter over. Lan Yu, looking weary, opened the protective array, let the two of them in, and then plunged headfirst into her bed, wrapping herself up tightly. Junior sister, what time is it? You're still sleeping. Come and practice your sword. Li Bai looked at the beautiful weather outside, and then at his junior sister, who was wrapped up like a silkworm cocoon. He felt heartbroken. Senior brother, you won't be able to teach me. Lan Yu drooped her eyelids, feeling even more world-weary. It wasn't that no one taught her. That cheap master had stuffed her with many jade slips and recording stones before going into secluded cultivation. These jade slips recorded the cultivation experiences and insights of the Lingua Peak master over the years. Those recording stones even recorded the sword techniques that the cheap master cultivated, from the chi condensation stage all the way to the soul transformation stage. Of course, there were also records of her initial sword flight attempts. It was just that no matter how she learned, she couldn't perform sword control. How could I not be able to teach you? It's just sword flight. There's nothing I, your senior brother, can't teach. Li Bai patted his chest, looking resolute. The quilt wrapped like a silkworm cocoon moved, and Lan Yu finally crawled out from inside. 2 hours later, Li Bai looked at his junior sister with a look of utter collapse. This shouldn't be happening. When I learned sword control, I stepped on it and flew away immediately. Why do you always fall off whenever you step on it? Why don't you switch to a different spirit sword? Maybe that ancient sword from the blood pool isn't reliable? As soon as Li Bai finished his suggestion, Silver Snow ran over and slapped the back of his hand hard. Li Bai refused to admit defeat. One more time. It will definitely work. Switch to my spirit sword. Lan Yu comforted Silver Snow for a moment, then silently accepted the spirit sword. Half a day later, Li Bai collapsed directly onto the ground, looking utterly devoid of hope. Junior sister, maybe you should try another spiritual artifact. I suggest crafting a round spiritual artifact that completely wraps around you so you won't fall off. At this moment, Li Bai looked even more weary than Lan Yu. He even started to doubt himself, wondering if there was something wrong with him since he couldn't teach his junior sister. Senior brother. You're right. A spirit sword might not suit me. Lan Yu also lay on the grass of Lingua Peak, watching the spirit cranes flying back and forth in the sky. Just as the two of them were doubting life together, Yin Shi walked over, carrying a food box. Why don't we eat first? Then we'll have the strength to practice later. That's so touching. Yin Shi, you actually ran off to get food for us. Lan Yu's previously listless eyes immediately brightened, deeply moved. You know, the spiritual grain hall is not just generally far from Lingua Peak. Every time she wanted to eat, she had to arrive half a day early. Over time, Lan Yu didn't want to move, resulting in her visiting the spiritual grain hall only a handful of times since joining the sect. What kind of divine maiden is this? I love her, I love her. Come on, let's eat first. Nothing is more important than eating. Right, Yin Shi? How did you get there and come back so quickly? Lan Yu asked, squinting slightly while biting into a hot crystal bun. As expected, the food there is delicious, but it's too far. That deserves a super bad review. Yin Shi, sitting opposite, handed her another spiritual dove leg. After a moment of hesitation, she finally answered honestly. I went by sword control. But going by sword control still takes. Lan Yu mumbled, biting the spiritual dove leg. However, after she swallowed the meat in one bite, she finally reacted. What? Sword flight? The mouthful of hot squab meat. Lan Yu had almost choked her. No, weren't you just waiting nearby to practice? You clearly hadn't learned it before. And you only just completed chi induction into body a while ago. After arriving here, Li Bai also explained that he would guide Yin Shi for a while and teach her sword flight. Yes, I was watching nearby. And suddenly I just knew how. Yin Shi scratched her hair shyly. She thought for a moment, and handed over another dove leg. Gotcha. Lan Yu felt as if she heard the sound of her jaw dropping, and something inside her heart shattered. She immediately turned her grief and indignation into strength, biting fiercely into that spiritual dove leg. Although this spiritual dove leg was quite delicious. As she ate, She forgot her previous grief and indignation. After eating her fill, she even mustered up her courage again. Let's try one more time. This time it will definitely work. Lan Yu clenched her fist, full of confidence. System. Host, why don't you stop trying? You won't succeed even if you try again. Lan Yu, why did you suddenly pop out? Why won't I succeed? Have you ever seen anything Lan Yu couldn't do? The system in her mind hesitated for a moment, and then closed its mouth. It decided to tell the host later that the inability to perform sword control was due to an unstable soul. Let's go, we'll try it one more time. A sharp sword edge comes from grinding, and plum blossoms smell fragrant after bitter cold. How can one say they can't do it without hundreds of trials? Lan Yu was full of fighting spirit. I am going to summon my flying spiritual artifact right now. Junior sister, you're right. How can one give up easily without hundreds of trials? Li Bai greatly admired his junior sister's courage. At this moment he felt his junior sister's figure was so... Wait, why did she get smaller? He watched as his junior sister's figure grew smaller and smaller, his mouth hanging open the entire time. What happened? Why was he suddenly in midair? No, it wasn't that he had risen into the air. It was the large rock beneath his feet that was slowly ascending. What's going on? Did a Yao beast break into Linghua Peak too? Li Bai nervously looked down, and met the eyes of a Science-stone spirit turtle. This spirit turtle had just woken up. Its two eyes rolled around, finally focusing and staring over curiously. It glanced at the stranger on its back, clearly wasn't very interested, and shifted its gaze back to the ground. Let's go, Erden. From now on, you are my exclusive mount. We will venture into the cultivation world together. Lan Yu excitedly patted the spirit turtle's small tail. The Science-stone turtle clearly recognized Lan Yu. It wrapped its tail around her and placed her on its shell. Lan Yu reached out again and pulled Yunxi up. The three of them sat side by side on the gigantic spirit turtle, with plenty of space left over. The flying spiritual artifact you mentioned is this turtle?
Li Bai realizaba la tadli.
Of course. Since I can't perform sword flight, I can't just fixate on that one thing, right? We need to be flexible and learn to diversify our investments. Lan Yu looked completely justified. Li Bai. But can turtles fly? If it just crawls, how long will it take to get anywhere? Chapter 20, The Flying Turtle. Senior brother, that's unfair of you. How can you discriminate against our little turtles? Erden, show him what you've got. Lan Yu gently patted the head of the bluestone-colored tortoise. Immediately after, under the shocked gazes of the other two people, the tortoise moved its four limbs a few times, then slowly flew up. Seeing the shocked expressions on their faces, the little person inside Lan Yu nearly put her hands on her hips and laughed. Even senior brother didn't expect this, right? The turtles of Linghua Peak can fly too. Speaking of which, she didn't know about this at first either. She just happened upon a spirit turtle on Linghua Peak and started feeding it there. As she kept feeding them, she unknowingly realized that several more spirit turtles had appeared, seemingly bringing their whole families along. Since feeding one was the same as feeding many, she ran to the stream behind the nearby mountain peak every day to spear fish, roasting them one by one for the spirit turtles to eat. Luckily, she had developed the skill of spearing and roasting fish in her previous life, or she might have starved after coming to the Southern Spirit Sect. It was also because more and more spirit turtles came to mooch food that she discovered some of them actually flew over by flapping their short legs on both sides. When she saw this scene at the time, she was absolutely stunned. This group of spirit turtles diligently flapping in the air truly touched her heart, so she actively fed them every once in a while, and the spirit turtles were very cooperative. As long as one spirit turtle spotted her roasting fish, a whole flock would soon fly over. I have to say, the fish raised on the neighboring peak were quite delicious, and they smelled even better when roasted. If she hadn't known the species, she would have considered buying some fry from outside to raise herself. After all, what if she speared all the fish? She had to find ways to increase income and reduce expenditure herself. Unfortunately, she asked all the shops, but no one knew what kind of fish it was called. Lan Yu, feeling regretful, stroked Erden's head. A turtle is raised for 1,000 days to be used for a moment. Erden, your big sister will rely on you from now on. The giant spirit turtle rubbed against her and tried hard to speed up a bit. Charge for the little dried fish. Lan Yu waved her arms in front of her. The dignity of roasted fish must be protected too. The spirit turtle beneath them really did increase its speed, diligently flapping its forelegs. To an outsider, it might have looked like it was swimming freely in the deep sea. In any case, the other two people on the turtle's back were greatly shocked. So they could also fly in the sky riding a spirit turtle? She was alright. She hadn't been in the southern spirit sect for long and hadn't seen much, so she just assumed it was a special species. But Li Bai was in a daze, because he searched through the compendium of spirit beasts in his mind and couldn't find this species of turtle. While they were in a daze, Silver Snow, who was following behind, was puffed up with anger. Silver Snow, stop messing around. Lan Yu turned her head and saw Silver Snow, who had caught up, secretly aiming for the turtle's tail, planning a sneak attack. She pulled Silver Snow over and secretly lowered her voice. From now on, you are my imperial sword. How can you be stepped on? Isn't it better if we sit on the turtle together and enjoy the eating melon? Silver Snow shook its body, was successfully persuaded, and obediently nestled into her arms. Lan Yu, today is a new day. How wonderful. I can enjoy new gossip. Let's check on Fifth Elder first. It seems Fifth Elder's gossip has been updated again. Li Bai, who was behind her, shuddered. He wanted to stop her but didn't know where to start, so he could only sit there scratching his head in frustration. Lan Yu, shocking. Why is the serious Fifth Elder squatting outside a disciple's room late at night, sporting scratches? Is it the distortion of human nature, or the decline of morality? On a mountain peak below, a disciple who happened to be sitting outside drinking tea couldn't help but spit out the tea in his mouth. He quickly flew out and spread the news. Before long, people gathered on the peaks near Lingyue Peak, secretly probing with their spiritual sense. On the mountain closest to Lingyue Peak, the same peak, Lan Yu often ran to spearfish the Sect Master, and the other elders exchanged glances. They examined Fifth Elder's face and noticed that there actually seemed to be scratches. Ahem. Little Lan Yu's inner voice has expanded its range again. It seems her cultivation has improved. Yin Chong could only use this excuse to hide the smile in his eyes. Fifth Elder wiped his face, looking world-weary. He felt that coming here was a mistake. Does this little Lan Yu know how to restrain herself? Can't she find someone else to exploit? The wool on his body is almost plucked bare. Fifth Elder looked indignant and aggrieved. He felt that the spiritual artifact he gave away a few days ago was completely wasted. The others regained their senses, also in disbelief. Fifth brother, is it really okay for us to be like this? The Jade Snow Peak Master was stunned for a long time, before finally managing to squeeze out a sentence. It's not what you think. Fifth Elder was practically going crazy. But if he told the truth, he hesitated. If he did that, wouldn't his reputation be ruined? Next to Lingyue Peak, Li Bai, sitting on the spirit turtle, was also in a daze. Wait. His master was squatting outside a disciple's door late at night? Which disciple? Didn't master only have two disciples? One was him, and the other was junior brother. Thinking of this, Li Bai's expression suddenly turned horrified. If Lan Yu hadn't been right across from him, fearing he might alert the enemy, he would have drawn his gilded long sword long ago. No wonder junior brother had looked so troubled these past few days, even having scratches on his neck. Despicable, truly despicable. How could master do such a thing? He had completely misjudged his master. Lan Yu, let me see what exactly happened. I'm so curious. I wonder if there's a video for this level of gossip. If there is, he. Li Bai next to her turned pale, and almost fainted. His heart was screaming, stop it, junior sister. How old are you? What are you thinking about all day? Senior brother, why is your eye twitching like that? Are you having a seizure? Oh no, do you have some kind of eye disease? Lan Yu was scrolling through the system's newly updated gossip when she inadvertently saw senior brother's eye twitching continuously. So she stopped to offer a word of comfort. Yes, my eye seems uncomfortable. Why don't we go back first? Li Bai no longer cared about his reputation. He just wanted to trick his junior sister away for now. Lan Yu, So even cultivators can have seizures. Senior brother is really miserable. Let me observe a moment of silence for senior brother. Libai. He feared the news of his seizure would spread throughout the entire sect soon, but it didn't matter. He could bear this hardship, as long as junior sister stopped focusing on that video matter. The air was silent for a moment. Just when he thought the video matter was about to pass and they would soon return, an uncontrollable burst of laughter suddenly rang out. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. I saw the strange title and thought it was some explosive news. It turns out Fifth Elder has a habit. He needs to hug a spirit cat to fall asleep. Lanyu, this is hilarious. The serious Fifth Elder secretly glues on his beard, and now he needs to hug a spirit cat to fall asleep. Does that mean he also needs to hug a cat to enter meditation? Lanyu, what did the cats do wrong? They must just be too cute. That's why even someone as serious as Fifth Elder likes them so much that he has to hold them even when sleeping. And hug them and kiss them. Sixth Elder laughed unceremoniously. He hadn't expected Fifth Elder to have such a private side. Although one was Fifth Elder and the other was Sixth Elder, the peaks where they resided were actually far apart, and they wouldn't meet unless it was for something significant. It was only because Lanyu recently appeared with the divine artifact that the group of them had gathered together. Ahem, old 5. I remember you brought back a litter of spirit cats from a secret realm some time ago, didn't you? Didn't you say at the time that you were giving those spirit cats to your disciple to raise? Second Elder coughed. I remember you even scolded your little apprentice then, saying his mind was entirely focused on the spirit cats, seriously delaying his cultivation, and you even punished him with confinement. Second Elder looked over, his eyes filled with teasing amusement. Fifth Elder. At the time, he genuinely felt that the litter of spirit cats seriously hindered his junior disciple's cultivation, so he took them in to raise them himself. Who knew those little guys decided he was their owner? At night, they insisted on crawling over to sleep with him. If he didn't make room for them, they would all meow in soft, milky voices. They were simply too clingy. It's all the fault of those spirit cats. Chapter 21. I'm going to make trouble again. Your sect is quite lively. A familiar yet authoritative sound transmission arrived, making the scalps of several elders, including Yin Chong, tingle. Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect, you already took Elder Lu away yesterday. There shouldn't be any lingering enmity between our two sects, right? Yin Chong could only reply with a helpless sound transmission. Although the person has been taken away, the psychological trauma suffered by my daughter cannot be so easily compensated. For the actions committed by your sect's elder, Southern Spirit Sect must provide some compensation, right? The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect's sound transmission was self-righteous. Her sound transmission was controlled precisely within a certain range, allowing all the nearby elders to hear it. The group of elders exchanged glances. They thought about how their own sect's elder had deceived a young girl, and even simultaneously supported 18 Dao companions outside. It truly was somewhat unethical. Yin Chong also felt a bit weak and could only reply, Red Moon, what compensation do you want? Let me be clear, overly expensive compensation is out of the question. If worse comes to worst, we can send Elder Lu back to you. Of course, Elder Lu actually had some backing. He was a junior from the lineage of the Grand Elder, though the blood relation was already very distant. Furthermore, the Lu family held some influence in the southern region, and was a wealthy and powerful family. If he were to send the person out, the Lu family would surely step forward to redeem him, and Southern Spirit Sect wouldn't even need to intervene. The abacus in Yin Chong's heart clicked loudly. That won't be necessary. I'll return Elder Lu to you later. He is not worth me wasting this opportunity. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect ruthlessly refused. Of course, she couldn't guarantee what state Elder Lu would be in when he was returned. Since this person dared to bully her daughter, allowing him to return alive would already be giving the Southern Spirit Sect's Grand Elder a great deal of face. So, Yin Chong suddenly felt a bad premonition. He suspected the other party was plotting something sinister. This young girl from your sect named Lanyu is quite good. I see she has excellent root bones, and is very suitable for cultivation in our Scarlet Moon Sect. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect revealed her true intentions. Back then, she had indeed heard the voice of the heart, but at the time, she was in a fit of rage and thought it was someone else sending her a sound transmission. After returning, she thought carefully and realized that voice was so special, fundamentally different from a normal sound transmission. Usually, when others send a sound transmission, it carries spiritual energy, but that voice had no spiritual energy fluctuations and resonated directly in her mind. This unique existence made her intensely curious. Moreover, the girl's name was special, as it contained the character Yu Moon. She was practically a disciple tailor-made for the Scarlet Moon Sect. Don't even think about it. You want to trade just one Elder Lu for the most outstanding disciple of our sect? Absolutely not. Yin Chong knew something bad was bound to happen, and it had actually come true. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect truly had sharp eyes, picking out the most unique disciple of their sect at a glance. How could she not be unique? She possessed an immortal artifact. One must know that not many sects in the entire cultivation world possess an immortal artifact. Don't be anxious. I will take this girl as my chief disciple. And it's even possible for her to inherit the entire Scarlet Moon Sect. Becoming the chief disciple in our Scarlet Moon Sect is much better than remaining an ordinary disciple in Southern Spirit Sect, right? I believe Lan Yu will know how to choose. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect still refused to give up. What she said was naturally not just empty promises. She genuinely had this consideration. After her daughter suffered a serious injury and nearly died, she achieved great enlightenment and no longer planned to stay in the Scarlet Moon Sect. It is said that she intends to establish a small sect with the other 17 people who saved her. She had always supported her daughter's ideas, and she had never intended to hand over the heavy responsibility of the Scarlet Moon Sect to her, believing it was enough for her daughter to live a carefree life. Now that she had found a suitable successor, she naturally wanted to pull her over and cultivate her. Of course, she was also very curious. What exactly did this girl possess that allowed her voice to resonate directly in her mind? No, Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect, you must be mistaken. Lan Yu's root bones are actually not very good. It's been over 3 months since her chi induction into body, and she still hasn't learned sword flight. Yin Chong sold out Lan Yu's embarrassing history without batting an eye, showing no nervousness or shortness of breath. He had completely forgotten that he had just called her the most outstanding disciple. It's fine. I like children who learn slowly. I can teach her gradually. I have plenty of time. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect refused to give up. In any case, absolutely not. Give up. Yin Chong stopped bringing up embarrassing history and directly refused. That truly is a pity. In that case, let me be a guest at Southern Spirit Sect for a while, and this grievance will be settled. I won't cause trouble over this matter again in the future. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect used retreat as advance, deciding to infiltrate Southern Spirit Sect first. As long as she found an opportunity, she would definitely be able to persuade the girl and take her away. Otherwise, I'm going to make trouble again. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect's voice carried a hint of laughter. Yin Chong. The group of elders. The Scarlet Moon Sect and their Southern Spirit Sect are ranked as the top sects in the southern region. The fact that Red Moon can overpower an entire sect by herself means her martial prowess is not exaggerated. You can tell how formidable this woman is just by the way she shattered the defensive array of a mountain peak yesterday. If she came over to cause trouble again, how much damage would be incurred? Fine, you can come in and stay as a guest for a while, but absolutely do not scheme against our sect disciples. Yin Chong reluctantly opened the protective array and let her in. The next second, the red figure of the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect suddenly flashed before them. Just as Yin Chong remained highly vigilant, the voice of the heart echoed again from a distance. Lan Yu, it's pretty normal to like sleeping while hugging cats, but why was Fifth Elder squatting in front of the disciples' door late last night, sighing? Let me see what happened. Ha ha ha. Turns out Fifth Elder stole the spirit cat's dried fish snacks and ate them all. Lan Yu. Heavens, does Fifth Elder like dried fish snacks that much? He actually stole the cat's rations. I'm dying of laughter. I'm dying of laughter. No way, Silver Snow. I must share this scene with you. Lan Yu clicked the share button next to the system, and instantly, a clear image unfolded in the minds of everyone nearby. However, she hadn't realized that she thought only she and Silver Snow could see it. In the image, everyone saw fragments of dried fish snacks still clinging to the side of Fifth Elder's beard. The three little spirit cats looked at the empty plates in front of them, then at the crumbs on Fifth Elder's beard, instantly looking utterly shocked. Lan Yu clicked the button next to it, and with a click, she took a close-up shot of the little spirit cats. Lan Yu, it's a pity I can't create emoticons, so we'll just have to add the text myself. Kat shokt fache jpj. Lan Yu, hahaha, I'm seriously dying of laughter. I must save this emoticon and look at it repeatedly. This will be my pastime when I'm bored in the future. Of course, I have to save Fifth Elder's emoticon too. What should I name it? Stealing fishy fish sounds pretty good. Quack quack quack. Let's take another close-up. Chapter 22. High Mountain Flower. From now on, this will be my entertainment whenever I'm bored. This inner thought echoed back and forth in the Fifth Elder's mind, and he nearly fainted. If Lan Yu played that video occasionally, could he ever show his face again? Also, what the heck is that meme thing? The Fifth Elder trembled for a long time, nearly pulling off his own beard. Lan Yu. LOL. No wonder the little kitten ran off to sleep with the disciples and refused to acknowledge the Fifth Elder. So it was a grudge over dried fish. Lan Yu. Poor Fifth Elder, scratched by a claw, and still having to squat outside late at night, watching eagerly. I should screenshot this scene too. What name should I give this meme? Lan Yu sat on the spirit turtle, watching the video while deep in thought. Wait, did I forget something just now? She finally remembered her senior brother. Oh no, look at me. Senior brother's situation is so urgent. Sit on my spirit turtle, and let's go to the Fifth Elder's place. He definitely has a way to treat you. Lan Yu, of course. I'll also take the opportunity to see how the Fifth Elder's face is doing after being scratched by the little kitten. I wonder if the Fifth Elder will be staking out the door tonight. Li Bai, who was finally remembered. He wiped his face, feeling incredibly worn out internally. Junior sister, senior brother's eyes suddenly got better. There's no need to go see Master. He was afraid that if he went to Master now he would be thrown out shortly after. That fast. Are you sure you don't want to go check it out? Lan Yu was worried. Senior brother's eyes were twitching quite violently just now. Little junior sister, please rest assured senior brother is fine. Li Bei's voice carried a slight choke. Yunxi, standing nearby, couldn't stop laughing. Finally, due to Li Bei's insistence, the group decided to return to Lingyue Peak. Let's go back. Lan Yu patted the spirit turtle's head with a spirited, confident demeanor. However, the spirit turtle in front of them continued flying straight ahead with its head down, its forepaws paddling vigorously. Lingyue. She manually turned Erden's head herself before the spirit turtle changed direction. Erden, I didn't realize you were a manual transmission. Lingyue sighed deeply. Just as she was lamenting, a red shadow suddenly flew out not far away. When they finally saw clearly who it was, all three froze. Isn't that the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect? Why is she here again? The scene of the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect fiercely beating Elder Whitebrow was still deeply imprinted in their minds, making Li Bai shudder just looking at her. He quietly took 2 steps back, but then finally remembered that such behavior was inappropriate, so he silently stepped forward to shield his 2 junior sisters. Just as he was overcome with nervousness, an excited inner thought came from beside him. Lingyue. So this is what the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect looks like. She's too beautiful. Li Bai, who was just being vigilant? Seriously, little junior sister, isn't your focus a bit misplaced? This is the person who shattered the early cultivation hall's defensive array with a single slap. No matter how pretty she is, she's the kind who could slap you dead. Li Bai was overwhelmed with worry. However, this inner thought successfully brought a smile to the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect's face. You must be Lan Yu? I wonder if you might be interested in. Wait, Lan Yu, come over here. Yin Chong, who had barely managed to catch up from behind, immediately interrupted her. Absolutely do not listen to the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect. She's here to trick people. Yin Chong was furious. If they hadn't paid attention, the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect would have sent a clone over. If they hadn't noticed, they might still be being misled by Red Moon's true self. What do you mean tricking people? This Sect Master is openly recruiting. She can't get any help here, so are you forbidding her from abandoning the darkness and turning toward the light? The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect spoke with such righteous indignation that she nearly made the Southern Spirit Sect elders faint from anger. Lan Yu, exactly. Abandon the darkness and turn toward the light. Woohoo. See that? Lan Yu definitely likes our Scarlet Moon Sect, otherwise why wouldn't she have refused? Red Moon's expression brightened upon hearing the inner thought, and she spoke seriously. How does not refusing count as liking? Yin Chong was almost tricked by her logic. Alright, the few of you shouldn't stay here. Li Bai, take them to the Hall of Four Arts. You can go check it out ahead of time, and choose your future path. The truth was that many elders were stationed at the Hall of Four Arts, so if this person tried to poach people again, someone could react in time. Yin Chong felt like his heart was breaking from worry. He hadn't worried this much in years. How about this? You can let this young girl be my disciple too. I'm not picky. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect noticed Yin Shi behind him, and her eyes lit up. With her insight, she could naturally tell that this young girl's talent was extraordinary, and she even possessed faint bloodline power. She hadn't expected the Southern Spirit Sect to be full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. They have quite a few promising talents. Go dream about it. Yin Chong was even more speechless. This is my daughter, my biological one. She wants his daughter to go to the Scarlet Moon Sect? He hasn't cherished her enough himself. That truly is a pity. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect sighed. Why did all the good talents already belong to someone? She didn't know what kind of luck Yin Chong had to be able to recruit so many excellent talents all at once. It doesn't matter. As long as she visits frequently, she can definitely win over these two young girls. Beautiful older sister, I'm leaving. Lan Yu waved toward the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect as she departed. That single phrase, beautiful older sister, made Red Moon absolutely ecstatic. Since becoming the Sect Master so long ago, no one had called her that. No, to be precise, no one had dared to speak to her like that ever. As expected of someone suspected of possessing an immortal artifact. Why is her mouth so sweet? I came in a great hurry and didn't bring you gifts. Here are 2 Red Moon tokens. If you buy anything at the artifact workshop opened by the Scarlet Moon Sect, you can get a 30% discount. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect smilingly pulled out 2 Red Moon-shaped tokens. And these 2 tokens automatically flew into the hands of the 2 young girls. Of course, if you are willing to come to our Scarlet Moon Sect, everything will be free. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect waved her hand generously. Lan Yu, as expected of beautiful older sister. She's so generous. Luckily, I clung to her thigh in time. This is fantastic. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect raised an eyebrow, feeling that victory was within reach. Lan Yu, but if I had to switch sects, forget it. Although Cheap Master hasn't come out of seclusion yet, I'm used to staying on Linghua Peak, and how could I abandon Erden? Erden, you agree, right? Lan Yu squatted down and patted its head. Erden nodded in agreement and flew even harder. Lan Yu, of course, the most important thing is that the protagonist group has to gather here. If I leave the protagonist group, how am I supposed to eat melon and watch the show? And my beloved darling girl. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect felt a little disappointed, but she quickly found a new goal. Who exactly is in that protagonist group? Since Lan Yu mentioned them, their talents must be excellent. If she could poach even one, it would be a huge gain. The Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect's brilliant eyes sparkled, and she reignited her fighting spirit. The Sect Master standing nearby, who had been worrying, twitched his mouth. He realized he didn't need to worry about this girl at all. Even if he tried to drive her away, she'd probably just cling to Linghua Peak and wail. He turned his head and saw a faint blush rising on his daughter's face, and his heart immediately sank. It's over. Even his daughter was influenced by this person. Hurry up and go, don't dawdle here. Yin Chong's expression turned cold, and he quickly chased them away, afraid that the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon Sect would seize another opportunity. He regretted it now. He shouldn't have let this person in. Lan Yu, so serious. As expected of Southern Spirit Sect's famous high mountain flower, who has been secretly admired by the North Ridge Holy Sun for so long. Yin Chang's face instantly stiffened, while the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon's sect beside him glowed with excitement. What? A story about the Sect Master of Southern Spirit Sect and the North Ridge Holy Sun? Hurry up and say a few more words, she wants to hear it. Chapter 23. Tricking Master, my specialty. However, the Sect Master of Scarlet Moon sect ultimately couldn't hear this big piece of eating melon, because Lan Yu and Li Bai, along with the spirit turtle, were all sent to the Hall of Four Arts by the Sect Master. The children have already gone to learn the 4 arts of cultivation in advance. Isn't it a bit inappropriate for the Scarlet Moon Sect Master to stay here? It was the 6th elder beside them who spoke up, stopping her. It's fine. I'll stay at your sect for a while. You don't need to provide any precious spiritual veins for hospitality. Just let me live near the 2 of them. The Scarlet Moon Sect Master smiled slightly. All the elders thought, your little scheme is truly not just a little loud. Perhaps even the disciples far away in Scarlet Moon Sect can hear it. At this moment, all the elders felt that besides Lan Yu's inner voice being a problem, this Scarlet Moon Sect Master was also a considerable nuisance. What could they do? They couldn't defeat an immortal artifact, nor was it good to fall out with the Scarlet Moon Sect Master. So they had no choice but to grudgingly accept. After all, Scarlet Moon Sect had always been their friendly sect. Aside from Elder Bai Mei causing some trouble, the 2 sects had always been very friendly. Otherwise, Yin Chong wouldn't have allowed the Scarlet Moon Sect Master to visit as a guest. Never expecting to attract a big-tailed wolf. Who knows when she would snatch away their little ones. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Four Arts. The Hall of Four Arts, like the early cultivation hall, occupied an entire mountain peak. These 2 peaks were not far apart, and there were many people coming and going. After all, many people went to these 2 places to study every day. Of course, the most popular place had to be the Hall of Four Arts. After all, the early cultivation hall was only for newly inducted disciples to receive enlightenment, but the Hall of Four Arts was a place where all sect disciples would come to study. The difference between the 2 was significant. The 3 of them, along with the spirit turtle, were directly bundled here, still a bit dazed. Especially Lan Yu. She only felt a cool bamboo fragrance, then her vision went dark, and she arrived at this unfamiliar mountain peak. Looking at the people coming and going, she was a bit incredulous. What just happened? How did the location suddenly change? Was that the Sect Master who suddenly appeared? The thought that she had just been secretly planning to check out the untold stories between the Sect Master and the North Ridge Holy Sun in her mind made her feel incredibly guilty. Although she knew the Sect Master couldn't possibly know, she still felt a shortness of breath. Worst case, she'd secretly watch after returning to Linghua Peak. Speaking of which, where exactly is this place? The Sect Master seemed to have mentioned a place called the Hall of Four Arts. Lan Yu looked up and saw a large character art written outside a group of ancient and elegant courtyards. Lan Yu, alas, life is not easy. Yia performs arts. Lan Yu sat on the spirit turtle, propping her chin. Junior sister, we are here to study, not to perform arts. Li Bei's mouth twitched beside her, thinking, where did junior sister get so many strange sentences? This is the Hall of Four Arts. What is learned in the Hall of Four Arts is actually the 4 arts of cultivation, which include alchemy, formation, talismans, and artifact refining. Our Southern Spirit sect is most famous for talismans and artifact refining. Even other sects come here to learn. Speaking of this, Li Bai was a little proud. Actually, our Southern Spirit sect's Spirit Sword Peak is also very famous, making many people yearn for it, especially our unique Hidden Sword Pavilion. Li Bai stopped abruptly here, afraid of revealing any secrets further. Anyway, staying here, you definitely profited. Lan Yu highly agreed with senior brother's words. Lan Yu, isn't it profitable? I can watch the entire protagonist group perform their cultivation journey in front of me, and maybe occasionally pick up some leaks. As soon as this inner voice came out, everyone in the Hall of Four Arts paused, secretly perking up their ears. What picking up leaks? They also wanted to know, oh wow. Lan Yu, forget it, this small cannon fodder might be gone before even getting close. It's better to just lie flat. How happy it is to lie flat and eat melon. She resolutely gave up the idea of adventuring with the protagonists. After all, she just wanted to quietly eat melon. Sacrificing her life to pick up some things was simply not worth it. Ahem, 2 junior sisters, you can take a look around the Hall of Four Arts to see what you're interested in, and you can also start learning early. Li Bai couldn't listen to this happy, lying flat inner voice anymore, so he proactively spoke up to remind them. How can one just lie flat in life? Especially a cultivator, that's fighting against fate. Forget it, forget it. Junior sister, who possesses an immortal artifact, is purely an exception. It's good to look around the Hall of Four Arts. I also want to learn more in advance. Lan Yu was quite interested in the Hall of Four Arts. She remembered that many things happened here with the initial protagonist group. Let's go take a look. Lan Yu pulled Yunzai's hand and walked forward, with the spirit turtle slowly following behind. Lan Yu thought she had subtly entered the Hall of Four Arts, but in fact everyone on the entire mountain peak was paying attention to this place. Lan Yu, I want to choose alchemy. Is there anything you're interested in? Although she was relatively quiet from beginning to end, she still had her own ideas. As early as when she entered the sect, she had planned her path, but an unexpected incident occurred midway, and she suddenly became the Sect Master's daughter. However, this wasn't a big problem. In fact, because of this identity, she had more resources at her disposal. Me. I can cultivate turtles. Lan Yu looked at Erden beside her, and a flash of inspiration suddenly struck her. Is junior sister talking about divination? Li Bai initially wanted to laugh, but then suddenly remembered that there really was such a thing. This method of divination uses spirit turtles for divination, and it is a very ancient branch of the northern region. After Li Bai explained the divination technique clearly, Lan Yu on the opposite side opened her mouth in surprise. No way, she just said it casually, but she didn't expect there to actually be such a cultivation technique. In that case, cultivating this divination technique sounds pretty good, doesn't it? She had read the original work, had many things in her mind, and even a system for eating melon. If she learned the divination technique, would everything she knew have an explanation? This is great. Does our sect have it? Lan Yu's eyes sparkled. She decided that in the future, when the protagonist group fought in the front, she would take Erden and cheer them on from behind. Southern Spirit Sect doesn't. Li Bai saw junior sister's expression and knew it wasn't good. He should have known better than to talk too much. Now had led junior sister astray. Junior sister wouldn't defect from the sect overnight just to learn this divination technique, would she? Li Bai shivered at the thought and quickly tried to mend the situation. Actually, it's not that we don't have it. One of our sect's elders once specifically went to Northern Ridge to study it, but that elder is currently in seclusion. Who is this elder? Lan Yu pressed on, determined to get to the bottom of it. She was very tempted. This elder is called. Li Bai's mind suddenly went blank. He seemed to have heard it before, but when he tried to recall it, his mind was empty. It should be Fairy Guangji. Li Bai suddenly remembered the name, and became incredibly excited. His voice was so loud that all the people coming and going turned their heads, especially the older ones, all with very strange expressions. Above the clouds, the fifth elder, who was sitting in the Hall of Four Arts, directly massaged his forehead, somewhat unwilling to admit that this was the disciple he had taught. Fifth brother, you fought the fiercest with me for your senior disciple back then. Did you already see his hidden excellent qualities? The sixth elder secretly tugged at fifth elder's beard beside him. Fifth elder expressionlessly pulled back his long white beard. So it's Fairy Guangji. When I have time, I must find her to learn divination. Then he'll have two masters serving two masters. Lan Yu clenched her fists, full of fighting spirit. She took 2 steps forward, finally feeling that something was wrong. Wait, isn't Guangji my master's name? Does our Southern Spirit Sect have 2 elders with the same name? Although she hadn't met her master many times from beginning to end, she had heard of her master's great name. Lan Yu, wow, could it be that my master's true form is actually a female immortal? Her surprised inner voice spread, and the entire Hall of Four Arts was filled with coughing sounds, as if everyone had suddenly contracted asthma. Strange. Did you hear any sounds coming over? Lan Yu heard the continuous coughing sounds from afar, and scratched her head curiously. No. Li Bai instantly shook his head. Junior sister, you must have misheard. Our sect has many spirit beasts. Maybe someone brought a spirit beast that likes to cough. Lan Yu suddenly understood. So that's it. By the way, is that fairy Guangji also in death seclusion? She subtly probed. Li Bai. She is indeed in death seclusion, but I remembered it wrong just now. There is no fairy Guangji. That elder is your master.
Ô hát lan y we not dead?
Her tone somewhat regretful. Lan Yu. Since master is currently in death seclusion, I'll secretly take a peek and see what kind of eating melon master has. Lan Yu, woohoo, I really found it. The untold stories of fairy Guangji.